Ghana's Controller and Accountant General from 2005 to 2009. Currently, a board member of the Internal Audit Agency, Christian Tetesoti, who also was once an assistant commissioner at the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has questions to answer. Yes, he, together with the GRA boss and the finance minister, he left his job as the technical advisor to the Commissioner General in 2019 to manage a company same year with no track record, no experience in revenue assurance in the petroleum industry, sole sourced, hand-picked to do revenue assurance services for governments. Something that was already being done by other third parties. Yes, the government is this company's only customer since the company SML was established. SML has a contract for 10 years. 10 years. And is entitled to over $100 million each year. It is a plug-in into the revenue stream of the state, taking money for no job done. Ben Boakye, Executive Director, Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASEP, insists. A mining expert adds that the engagement of SML to monitor gold production is, quote, a typical create, loot, and share scheme to plunder the resources of the state. Is SML a duplication if it did that job? The state, with the aid of third parties, introduced the ERDMS in 2018, by which every liter of petroleum product is accounted for tax purposes. It ensures, quote, 100% efficiency and transparency, officials have told the Fourth Estate. The GRA itself has confirmed, or did confirm until last week, CEO of the National Petroleum Authority has doubts about the need for SML. In fact, the GRA said it does not rely on what the SML does for its tax purposes, the very reason for its engagement. The OSP is commencing investigations, and just yesterday, Parliament also set in motion an investigation and directed suspension of payments to SML. This week started with Catholics and even non-Catholics the world over agitated at news that sought to damage the image of the world's biggest Christian denomination with the largest membership and impact on society. Popular U.S. evangelist, president of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, Franklin Graham, joined many in slamming Pope Francis. He wrote, "So-called blessings from religious leaders won't save you from the judgment of God." He said, "You can't bless what God calls sin." Catholic bishops elsewhere rejected what was reported or misreported as authorization for Catholic priests to bless same-sex marriages. We speak to Catholic bishops over their statements to the contrary. But we commence today's discussion or show with our first hour interacting with the Education Minister about government's management of the sector in the wake of an agenda by the NDC to scrap teacher licensure exams and concerns about standards despite recording the best Wassee results. I'm Samson Lardy Anyenini. We'll be right back to deal with the vexed matters. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. This is a very final edition for 2023. Relax and get to enjoy our show for today. We're inviting all of you, our viewers and listeners today, to take extra time. You always do. Share a lot of messages with us, but today we are committing to dedicate time to read and share all your messages. Maybe, just maybe, we may open the phone lines at a certain point in time to allow you time to also participate in the discussions live. Thank you very much. So it's been a year. So what are your thoughts, particularly about the things we are discussing today? But if there are any that you want to share your views on with us, we will welcome them. So get ready and start doing just that. I have the Education Minister in the studio, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, the Minister for Education and MP Bosomtwe. So if you have any questions about education, if you have heard of any concerns and critique, share them with us and we will have him respond to them accordingly. Good morning, sir, and thank you very much for making the time to join us here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Great. So today, part of it is to get him to prove me wrong. You know, I did a take about him and spoke about him in certain terms. And those who don't like that truth that I told had a lot of things to say. I said, for example, that he is a great citizen that was flying high, the flag of Ghana home and abroad. And he was doing a lot of marvelous things. He represented leadership that brings transformation. And there is evidence to that I showed. So this morning is one-on-one. He should prove me wrong or shame my critics, so to speak. Right. So I'm beginning the show and you're seeing these images with you in classrooms, in laboratories, hands-on. And people say, this is the example we want. We are aware of what you did with the educational institution you set up in the United States of America, producing shining example of leaders over there. What is it about your philosophy in this sector?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Samson, for such a wonderful opportunity, for giving me such a huge platform to share what the President of the Republic has empowered me and enabled me to do in Ghana. As you all know, I was in the United States of America and experiencing the American dream. A first-generation immigrant, opening schools in Los Angeles, 200 workers, college prep schools, every student paid for by government, and it was a wonderful opportunity. And the president asking me to come back home and help him change the education system. These were his words when he was campaigning for office, and meeting a mentor of mine, asking him, should I go, should I not go? And his words was very instructive. He just said, this is the mentor of mine, Honorable Mervyn Diamond, a former congressman. He said, America can do without you, but maybe your country cannot do without you. So go home and help your people. It was almost like he was speaking to me, to my heart, and God was speaking to me through him. And I decided to come. My philosophy, you know, I grew up in a very challenging fiscal environment. I always say my father was not poor, but he had a cash flow problem as a cocoa farmer. And not being able to get the cash at the right time when it was needed by the family. I shaped my whole philosophy of thinking and doing things in the education space. When I almost missed high school because he couldn't put together 40 cedis. And it was my younger brother who one evening sitting in the middle of the cocoa farm in a hamlet had an idea, and he said, why don't you go to Jachi? Tell Dad, give you money to take the transport, go to Jachi. I have this pig that my uncles have given to me because I'm helping them on their piggery farm. Maybe if you sell it, you get the opportunity to go to secondary school. My dad was struggling at the time, had taken me from village to village, begging his friends, can you lend me 40 cedis? Nobody could do that. It wasn't cocoa season yet. Came back to Jachi, we sold the pig. We took it around, we sold, we actually did a retail. I was carrying some, my brothers were carrying some. We raised 42 cedis, 40 cedis, went to Jachi Pramso, paid my deposit, happiest person. Then they gave me a prospectus. And the day student prospectus was simply buy shorts, a blue shirt, sandals, and you are in. And even that, it was a huge struggle for me to then get it, come back to Jachi and be enrolled at Jachi Pramso Senior High School. So I always say I grew up in an environment that was challenging fiscally, then went to America by the grace of God, and then I found myself fighting to liberate the low-income neighborhood students from poverty. So I always fought poverty, overcame poverty, and I also went to America to fight on the side of the poor, relatively poor in America, to give them the opportunity of education. And that opportunity of education then inured to their benefit. My students got the opportunity to go to top universities in the US. So my philosophy simply is this: we can wage the war against poverty and win. And if we're to do that, we have to have a more robust education system. An education system that does not only guarantee access, but enhances quality. But the education system must also be relevant to the needs of our nation. So I don't look at education from the standpoint of individual benefit, tremendous benefit to individuals, but I look at societal benefits. I look at countries that have changed their fortunes, South Korea, Singapore, the Southern European nations, where through education, their fortunes have changed, they've transformed them. So my philosophy is nations can improve their fortunes through education. And that education must be relevant to the needs of the country. So that's why I'm passionate about what I do, because
the Jachi Pramso that you went to, I visited Jachi Pramso many years ago as a leader of the Scripture Union. We went there to evangelize.
Yes.
And we saw the dormitories, the building itself doesn't attract. But that is where you went.
Yes.
And that Jachi Pramso made you who you are.
Yes.
Can we say the same of today's education system, despite what improvement we say we have made to it?
You see, there's this thinking that wherever we thought we knew is what exists now. So invariably, like your description of Jachi Pramso has changed now. But if you were to speak to Jachi Pramso, you are speaking to Jachi Pramso from your experience, what you saw there. And you may describe it for what it used to be, but not what it is now. So invariably, you hear people talking about, oh, the standards have fallen, things are so bad. It's their projection as to what they think should be happening. And because around the world, if you look at education systems, what happens invariably is that countries that increase enrollment rapidly diminish learning outcomes. So even education experts in Ghana, I've heard some of them say, standards have fallen because enrollment has gone up. You see, that is what is supposed to be, but that is not what is happening. So if you're a researcher in education, you then have to go and look at the data, because that is what education researchers know, that if you increase enrollment, outcomes will diminish. So you have to then begin to look at what I call Ghanaian magic. where we increased enrollment and the achievement did not fall. We defied gravity, literally, because it's not known around the world. In the secondary education space, you increase enrollment in Ghana. In 2016, it was 830,000 students. Now you've gone to close to 1.4 million. How is it that the students are doing well? Everyone will tell you
that's almost double.
It doesn't, yes, almost double. So they will say it doesn't happen anywhere in the world. But what did Ghana do right? You see, when you increase enrollment and you have fixed facilities, it means if you double enrollment, you have to double class sizes. So the classrooms are congested, and in most countries, they don't have excess teachers to deploy. So with limited teachers, limited facilities, you double enrollment, you diminish outcomes because you are going to increase class sizes. Teachers will be overloaded. Ghana has a unique situation. We are the only country, probably one of the few countries in the world, where we have excess teachers that can be deployed. In other jurisdictions, even if they want to deploy, they don't have them. But in addition to that, the interesting thing about the Ghanaian expansion and why we have improved learning outcomes is that when we improved the learning outcomes, we created a different ecosystem. The first is that when we increased enrollment, we made the education free. What it means is that whereas before free secondary education, students would take 2 weeks, 4 weeks to come to school because they were waiting at home to look for money to pay their fees. You made it free. Therefore, during the first week, they are there. So because they come during the first week, they are not missing anything. Consequently, the time on task has improved tremendously in our schools.
You are diving deep already. We'll get there. So the comments people make generally about standards have fallen. And for as long as I became aware politically, I've heard this phrase repeated over and again. Sounds as if we're a basket case as far as our mission and a vision for education system is concerned. And yet we manage to produce some of the best. Stellar guys who go out and even here do very well. From your experience, is that not true to some extent? You, for example, for 10 years, have decided that on your own, in your constituency, you are going to recruit at least 100 engineers in your constituency. You started doing that.
Yes.
How easy is it to get the class of candidates that you sponsor to the universities? That should tell you that the standards confirm these cliché.
You see, the interesting thing about standards, you have to look at teacher quality. In a country where you now require a bachelor's degree to teach even in KG, standards have not fallen. If you were struggling to get qualified teachers to teach in your schools, then you can say standards have fallen. Teachers are now better prepared, better qualified for our schools. They are being trained differently. You also have ensured that you enhance increase the number of students going to high quality schools in the country. You see, when you talk about the Bosomtwe experience, I decided I would sponsor 100 engineers within 10 years. Within 2 years, I had them. Now I've gone to 150, and I have about 30 of them on my waiting list, waiting to be added. From village to village, when my people visited, they found students who have gone to top high schools in the country, people who have gone to Prempeh, Presec from Bosomtwe, and they were waiting for opportunity to go to the university. So it was so easy to find qualified high school graduates to take them to UMatt and take them to KNUST within a period of 2 to 3 years. So if standards had fallen, it was not going to be easy for you to find students who have done science and have graduated and they have made, they are qualified to go into universities. So I have about 30 students doing medicine from Bosomtwe, and I easily found them. On Wednesday, something profound happened. I met this young man who came to me and said, Minister, I want to thank you for what you did for me. And that was before I even started doing the 150 agenda. These students I picked up. The mom was the cleaner of the public toilet, and I had stayed at home for 2 years. couldn't find the money to buy university and transform. We did it for him. He met me and said, Minister, on Monday, this upcoming Monday, I'm starting my housemanship as a medical doctor at Sunyuan Teaching Hospital. You helped me 6 years ago. You took care of me. You paid my school fees, our UDS, and I've graduated, and I want to thank you. These are individuals who opportunity have been extended to. Now you look at the majority of our youth, and they have opportunity for secondary education. And when they go there, it's not the high school of yesteryears. You have students going to STEM schools. You have students who have now an opportunity to do hands-on activities, build robots, even fly drones. So how can you say standards have fallen?
We'll talk about students in STEM schools and that particular idea and how you intend to use that to revolutionize the education system in line with your vision of the kind of schools that you are known to have built. Whether that really works here and you can achieve that. But let's look at the evidence in our face right now from the WASSCE results that just came, 2023. From where you sit, what does the result communicate to you?
The result tells me that the work of the headmasters and the students and the teachers is truly showing outcomes. You have teachers who have sacrificed their lives so much so that they stay after school, they are there before school, and they support these students to work hard so that we can see the outcomes that we're seeing. This cannot be by accident. If you had a situation where it went up and down, and then 1 year it fell, and then you go down, then you can say that's by accident. This is not by accident. You see, we've opened the floodgates of quality pre-sec, Achimota education to a huge number of students. Pre-sec used to bring in 1,000 students thereabout. Now you have 1,500, and some years 1,800. The 500 extra, the 800 extra is getting quality pre-sec education. Before free senior high school, the A1 to C6, which is the pass rate, was about 95%. Now pre-sec is doing 98% with increase in the number of students who are getting the quality pre-sec experience. So if you look at the numbers that have been able to go to these top tier schools, outcomes should be better. And then those who are going to schools that does not have the same pedigree as our top schools, they also are going to schools where they have more opportunities in terms of the resources and the laboratories that we are doing there. So if you look at what has happened in integrated science, our 28.7% passed in 2015. When we say pass, we mean the pass that can take you to university, A1 to C6, 28.7. Now it's 66.82, and this cannot be by accident. It has been increasing over the years. You look at the 2022 results, you look at English language from 60.39 to 73. You look at mathematics, you look at all integrated science. In every field, there was an increase. In every subject, there was an increase. So this cannot be an accident. Things are changing. Our headmasters are doing a better job. Parents are doing a better job supporting their students. And the government has made a huge commitment. And this investment, I believe, based on the numbers that we see, is paying us. So it cannot be said that standards are falling. You go to the basic schools and you see what is happening there in terms of intervention. Now we are saying to our schools, junior high school, if students come to you and they can read, it's your responsibility to get them reading before they leave there. So we started what is called intervention programs. At the senior high school, we began intervention program. Students come to Form 1 and they can read. You should not just give them 10 subjects. You're going to give them 8 subjects. The 2 additional ones are going to be intervention English class, intervention mathematics class, to boost their proficiency in mathematics and boost their proficiency in English during the regular school day. And then after school, there should be intervention for them. This is something that Wesley guests have been doing for a long time. They assess students who come to them, and after the assessment, they prescribe intervention for them. So it's not a sink or swim. You are in Form 1, and therefore, you are just like everybody else. You are in the English class just like everybody else.
So we see that this is the best since the SHS started.
The best since the
incremental,
SHS started, and also the best since 2015.
The best since 2015.
Because you see, before 2015, we had the Kufuor graduates who came through His Excellency late Atta Mills. Those were the ones who were doing 4 years. So the 4-year result is now quietly being matched by this 3-year results in 20. So it's 2 levels. Since 2015, this is the best. Almost a decade, this is the best. And then since we started the free senior high school, this is the best. So there has been a gradual build-up in terms of proficiency, in terms of learning outcomes in our senior high schools.
So between 2016 and 2022, we see about 10% increase in the Wassee pass rates for all 4 core subjects. Notwithstanding, the gross tertiary enrollment target, 25% by 2021, was missed 19%, with a 2030 target of 40%.
40%.
In line to be missed, since we are lagging at 20% today due to the slow growth of the tertiary admissions. Why is the core Wassee results not reflecting at the tertiary level?
You see, what we have to realize as a nation is the importance of gross tertiary enrollment ratio. I think the sense of agency is now coming. It didn't used to be a sense of agency for anyone. You know, during the Rawlings era, when we were at the university, the Bretton Woods institutions, World Bank, IMF, they told the government that university education is a private good. It's for individual benefit. Subsidies were removed. There were looters, demonstrations everywhere. I remember when our university was shut down about 4 times when I was there, because the government said subsidy, dispense with it. Instructed by the IMF, instructed by the World Bank. A number of countries were instructed to do something they did, but countries like Brazil did not. They didn't. And they stuck to their guns and said, no, tertiary education is important. So the country that did not heed to the advice of the Bretton Woods institutions and invested in tertiary, then began to see the transformation. If you look at what has happened in China, for example, the numbers that were there in 2005 and where they are now, getting close to 60% gross tertiary enrollment ratio. It was this idea that we needed to do this, and they focus on it. Now a sense of agency has been created for us. The sense of agency is that we need to boost our gross tertiary enrollment ratio. You know, in the 1970s, it was about 0.9%. So if you really look at where we have been or where we are now, if you are looking at that, you can say there has been growth. But now you have to look at the sense of agency that has been created for us, especially by the 1972. We had a 0.9% gross tertiary enrollment ratio. 1971, India had 12.69. Now India is at 31.3%. China in 2005 was 19.3. Now China is about 60%. And of course, South Korea is over 102.47%. So it's the sense of agency that has now been brought to bear. The president has said 30%, we need to get 40% by 2030. We are working with GTEC. We are looking at an action plan that will help boost the numbers in the private sector. The idea of having this student loan where you don't need guarantor, the no guarantor policy, well-resourced, will open the floodgates of education to a number of students who cannot go now because of funding. If I had not made that, given the opportunity to some students, there's no way 150 of them could be doing engineering and medicine and all those courses. So I think the opportunity is through a well-resourced, well-funded student loan program, so that the barrier to tertiary, once the academic achievement is enhancing, the financial barrier will forever be removed, so that students don't have an opportunity. We're also aligning when the loans come out and when students go to school. So if you look at what has happened over the years, even with Cocoa Marketing Board Scholarship, the poor who needed it the most to go were not getting it before they entered.
Yeah.
You have to go to the school to apply. So now, if the Student Loan Trust Fund is going to open the portal, and they should be opening it this week.
So there are deliberate plans to ensure that these pass rates will reflect
in the
at the tertiary level access.
So you remove the cost barrier. So removing the cost barrier means that the Student Loan Trust Fund resource should be made available at the gate, not after. If we are waiting for them to enter, majority of them cannot enter. So the whole thing is that open the portal at the time that admissions are coming out into tertiary, so that those who don't have the money can then borrow to go, and stop the practice of come first, and after 1 year, 6 months you apply. So once you do that, we can boost our tertiary enrollment numbers, because they're going to get the support at the gate. So you're not going to have a situation where people don't apply at all.
So, right. So while we celebrate these numbers, there's a question to be asked. Since 2021, we have not been writing Wassee with Anglophone West Africa. That tells me, since we are doing our own local Wassee, that this is not standardized. So we cannot be making comparisons, correct?
It's not local Wassee. We are not doing local Wassee. The exams are set by West African countries, examiners from all the countries. We are not doing local Wassee.
Okay.
You see, this is what is happening. The Wassee questions, it's not like our time.
All right.
During our time, we're writing the same questions for Nigeria and Sierra Leone and all this. Sometimes we'll say, oh, this year the questions were set by Nigeria and the English was so difficult. It's no longer the case. If you go to WAEC, they'll tell you that they've done serialization, different questions for different countries, even if you were writing it at the same time. So the Ghana exam that we are writing is set by the entire West Africa. The examiners are West Africa. The reason why Ghana, we are now moving towards coming back the pre-COVID, we had to make a decision. The decision was that if you want to test with the whole West Africa, then you're going to give your student 5 months to prepare for the exams.
All right.
So you have a choice.
Okay.
Give them 5 months, and if they use 5 months to prepare for Wassee, they won't do well, because you need about 8 months to prepare for Wassee. But if you want to force yourself and test with the entire West Africa, then you're going to tell the student that you have 5 months to prepare for the Wassee. Right. So you have a decision to make.
Right.
And you see, Wassee is not a norm-reference exam. Norm-reference is that when you finish the exams, you put the bell curve, as we know in education. So some years you can get 60% and get A1. In some years, you must get 70% and you get A1.
Right.
That is a norm-reference exam.
Okay.
Wassee is criterion. It's based on the hard pass. If you don't pass it, you failed.
We'll move away from Wassee shortly. but tell me, how concerned are you about the exam or practice in relation to Wassee? And to think that the examiner tells us that the fraud, even trying to copy AI responses, which are not answers, were actually seen in some of the papers. How concerned are you about that? What do you think ought to be done, or what are you doing in that direction?
You see, 2 years ago, the president in his State of the Nation address directed me to find a solution to the perennial examination malpractice at the BEC and then at the Wassee level. And I went to work, had a meeting with WAEC. The instruction to them, direction to them was very simple, that we need to do randomization of questions, or what is called serialization. You see, around the world, they had to find a solution. If you sit there and say that somehow I'll talk to the students and they will stop, I'll talk to the parents and they will stop, I'm getting ambassadors to preach, it's not going to be. Until we go e-testing, electronic testing, where if I'm sitting next to you, your questions are going to be different from mine because the computer selects automatically for each one of us, so I can't cheat. Your essay will be different from mine. Then you have to do it manually. So we began with BEC. 3 years ago, every region had different questions. That was when the Instagram sites that were selling the questions shut down completely. Because they realized that the questions that came, people who bought them, they bought Ashanti region question, they were in the Volta region. So Instagram pages shut down completely, and they stopped on the BEC. The following year, the last 2 years, WAEC has set questions, different questions at the same level of difficulty, sometimes the same question, but your question 1 is my question 10. They've done that randomization for all examination centers across the country on the BEC level. So if anybody tells you that during the last year there have been leakages, no, there has not been leakages. However, within the examination center, since they are having the same set of questions, you can have more practices going on. The next step that we are going, which we are working with WAE to go, is to randomize within the classroom, within the exam center. So my questions, your questions will be different. So
that's going to be expensive.
Oh yes, but it has to be done. It has to be done. There's no reason that we can have a solution. We're sitting and say, no, they say they need new equipment.
Since we advertised that you are coming on the show this morning, there are teachers in the university who share concerns. They say, yes, good Wassee results, the best, whatever. But the products that come to us at the university, it's not the best.
Let me tell you one thing. Everywhere in the world, it's what you put in place at your level of education. Educators, teachers, I'm a teacher at the core. And what we do is the blame game. How do we do it? Universities will say the high school students are not good. High school will say the junior high school students are not good. Junior high school will say, oh, the primary school teacher did a terrible job. Primary school teachers will blame the KG teachers, and the poor KG teacher with nobody to blame the parents, that the parents are not preparing the children well. Around the world, when you get students at the university, there was a famous statement by one professor who said, garbage in, garbage out. They are not good, so they're not going to graduate from us better. And I'm saying universities should see themselves as recycling plants. When you have students coming to you and you believe that, oh, the standards, that is where you have English writing courses for them. You see, the reason is very simple. We can at the high school blame junior high school. No, you do the intervention there so that the students will be better. When they come to the university and you realize the university as a whole, not the professor, individual professor cannot set his own policies.
All right.
At the university level, met with VCG, our directive and advice and encouragement to them is that if 2 students are doing land economy, if you do a placement exam, which is very different from entry exams, placement exam is to help you place the student. If the student comes and English proficiency is lacking, what we do around the world is that they do English 99, below university level English class. So the 2 of us are doing that, but my courses are going to be different the first year because I need English proficiency. I need to master the English language. You see, that is not to say high school shouldn't do a better job. That is not to say junior high shouldn't do a better job. But we should not turn out graduates who are not meeting the premier University of Ghana standards.
But it is serious and concerning that the teachers at the junior and high school, as many as 9,000 will fail the licensure exams. The exams that you're using to seek to get the best to do the job.
So that's good news because we are getting the best. If we were passing everybody on, nobody will fail. What NTC and we all discussed they should do is to get study materials. Because it's a new exam. And I think it's not fair to the person coming to write the exam that he can't pick up a book and read and prepare. Because obviously, the content of the exam should be exposed to them. So this upcoming exam, I've told them, we need to make sure, so I've teamed them up with NACA to prepare study materials for them. I think they can do it, but the exams is very different from the courses that they are used to. The exams are assessing more critical thinking. And maybe the grades from their teachers, the courses that they did, it's not aligned. So we need to do a better job helping them prepare. I have no doubt in my mind that majority of them are going to do well when we prepare and give them the material that they need. And also, colleges of education. And it's not just the colleges of education. Majority of the teachers are coming from distance programs from the universities. So invariably, people talk about, oh, the training colleges, the old training colleges. No, majority of the students are not coming from the training colleges. They are coming from distance education programs offered through UCC, Winneba, and they are everywhere in the country.
So you're saying that the fact that over 9,000 have failed this exam is actually a positive and a justification for keeping the licensure exams instead of scrapping it?
Yes, because you have to help them to meet the standards, to enter the classroom and do a great job for our children. If you are realizing that unfortunately they are not meeting the standards, why pass them on? You help them do a better job. Now we're doing restructuring, re-engagement with NTC to ensure that as soon as they finish school, they can write the exams there. So they don't go out and stay at home and be still for 1 year waiting to write the exam. So if you do those movements and you provide teaching and learning materials that aligns with the exam content, they are going to do a better job. And I think the country is better for it, that we are helping them to pass the exams, to meet the requirement, the rigorous requirement to enter the classroom. But if you take the easy road, nobody likes exams. Nobody likes exams. And therefore, if you take the easy road as a politician and say, I'm going to scrap it, they will jubilate. But are the students in the classroom going to jubilate?
Interesting. If you're just joining us, this is Newsfile. It's your final edition for 2023, and we begin the first hour with an interaction with the Education Minister and MP for Bosumtwi, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum. And we're talking about the Wassee results that is being celebrated and asking and trying to test if it reflects, the quality of the products that are being churned out for the universities and subsequently to our job market. Now,
but you see, the interesting thing is that these students get to, from Ketasco and all these places, get to Harvard and top the class. So there's something to be said about quality. Students are going around the world. In UK, they send me their exams results, doing fantastic job. So if you have one evidence of a student not doing well, sometimes, you see, we generalize it over all the students. But the professors will tell you that they also have students sitting in their classes and they are doing a fantastic job. But the one that may not be performing may be the one that is singled out. But we should also celebrate those who are doing a great job in Ghana and outside Ghana. Students who are sitting in classrooms and they have great ideas, and there are a number of professors who attest to the fact that this student coming from Drobonso, from a village in Bosomtwe, they are now at the university and they are doing a great job. So invariably, I understand that we'll talk more about the challenged one.
Right.
And may not say anything about those who come to class and challenge us as professors in our lecture halls.
Right. And I'm already getting some of the messages from our viewers, and this one says that the problem is from the teachers. They charge the children to supply them with answers during the exams. I have received many reports from displeased teachers concerning the practices of their colleagues. The problem is also pervasive across educational levels, that even nurses, training colleges are doing it too for final licensure exams. We need a national mentality reset. There are those who raise the question about even teaching pupils and limiting them to extra classes. So if you can't afford, you don't get to be taught certain things. And then you go higher up and people are doing, pamphlets, handouts. If you can't afford, you won't get it.
I think it used to be the case that if you couldn't afford, you could not do extra classes. That is not the case now. And this is some of the things that I say.
That's not the case anymore?
No, because we disbursed 65 million, and we're about to disburse one in the next few days to our senior high schools for extra classes. The government picked up.
The government is paying for the extra classes so that it will be uniform.
Yes. so that it wouldn't be said that because you couldn't afford, you were in class, and the next day the teacher would take something different, advancing on what was done after school. So it's not the case now. But somehow people think it's the norm. It's no longer the norm in our senior high schools, and headmasters will attest.
Well, why don't you simply increase the, contact hours and pay for that instead of pay for extra classes?
You see, we've increased contact hours.
Correct.
Yeah, we've increased contact hours. But I also know that until you do intervention within the school day, you see, I visited Frafraha Senior High School, and the headmistress was talking to me about the fact that the intervention that they are doing after school, because it's a day school, a number of students could not stay. So my whole thing was that, why don't you do it during the regular day? And to do it the regular day means you may have to take away some subjects. So something like unexaminable ICT course. During the first year, for a student who is struggling in English and mathematics, they don't do the unexaminable, but they do the extra intervention coursework in English, and they do it in mathematics. So during the regular school day, you then introduce the intervention to make sure they have a better opportunity to improve themselves. But in the meantime, before we get there and make it universal, after school is a rare opportunity where you can get more interaction with the teacher and get support. And now the government is paying for it. So that you don't have a situation where students who can't afford do not get extra support. But you see, when it comes to examination malpractices, this is the first time we are confronting it head on. This is the first time we are saying.
Right, so thank you. You've spoken about that. And as you see in the background, it brings me to the question of the science, technology, and engineering, mathematics, STEM. I've heard some teachers who say, this is what you need. But I've heard some say, we don't get it.
Something is happening in this country. These days, I say I do evidence-based communication because I know they don't trust politicians. We are used to saying plans are far advanced, it's in the pipeline, and then it doesn't come out of the pipeline.
That's right.
So the president is determined that basic schools, junior high schools, primary schools have to be revamped. The infrastructure should really fit 21st century. So if you look at what is happening now, you have new junior high schools under construction, and I think some of the pictures were coming up because the environment should be conducive to 21st century teaching and learning. So if you see some of the images that were showing, I wish it will come, you're going to see that the junior high school landscape is changing. You see, we have 11,000 junior high schools, and if you want to change each one of them, it's literally impossible. But in mid-sized towns like Jaben, Onye, and other places, Chamba in the northern region, what you can truly do is that you bring about 4 or 5 junior high schools together in one place, in one building that has biology, chemistry, physics lab, computer lab, everything is there. Move junior high schools from 19th century to 21st century. Put them in an environment where they can do STEM. And once that happens, you have changed the future of those students. I think a number of...
What's new about this?
The new about it is that junior high school biology, chemistry, and physics lab, STEM lab, computer lab. Never seen it before. The environment is different. We've even changed the uniforms so that they feel different about themselves. So the era where we define public schools as rectangular shaped building, painted brown and yellow, where the students wear brown and yellow uniforms should be a thing of the past. And the revolution has begun. And you see some schools in Accra here, I think they were showing some images of it, the Accra STEM Academy, a school that begins from kindergarten all the way to high school. It's a community school. And you go and you see the infrastructure and the equipment that is in it. But we are not limiting ourselves to Accra, not limiting ourselves to Kumasi and urban areas. Mid-sized towns are seeing a revolution. I'll tell you the story of Jabin in the Ashanti region. The building that has been put up there, the junior high school, is going to bring they have 7 junior high schools, and they are moving all the 7 junior high students to one building. See, they are coming from buildings that has been there for many, many years, 70 years, no electricity, dilapidated, into a new building space that has all the science labs that they need. And that is a different environment. Moving schools from 19th century to 21st century, they're going to get everything that they need to have to do STEM and to do other activities. so that they become well-rounded individuals. By the time they get to high school, they will have truly equipped themselves to do a better job. So this is the Accra STEM Academy.
And this is dependent, driven heavily by infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
Which is an area you are said not to be doing well at all.
We're doing very well, but you guys don't know. Evidence-based communication. Look at this school. When this school is done, finished, this is just like any school anywhere in any developed country. You see, the idea that we are not doing well, I take the responsibility that we need to do better at communication. We have done all these things. And for the president not to get credit for it and to be told that you are not doing anything in terms of infrastructure, the number of buildings that have been put up in existing schools, and then we move from here and say, you know what, not just existing schools, new STEM schools across the length and breadth of this country. You go to Abomosu and you see what is going on. You go to Accra, East Legon, and you see this building moving so fast. By March, it will be done. You're going to receive students in an environment that nobody ever thought public school would be in. Because you see, I don't understand why. And I always use the example of a man called Bishop in Kumasi. He has a school in the Agre-Enzima area, New Mission. Beautiful school. And I'm saying to myself, how is it that a private man can take his money and borrow and do such a beautiful school? And the government, with all our resources, have always looked at a rectangular shaped building, painted brown and yellow, as our public schools. That should be a thing of the past. You look at this school, it was built under the leadership of Nana Danko Akufo-Addo. And there are 10 of them across the country, Abomosu, Pasempe, all over the country, we have them. And these are new schools that have been built. Each one of these schools have 12 science labs. Every day, the teacher can do science lab activities. And by the way,
you initiated 1,105. And you were expecting, I mean, this was, had been initiated in 2017. And as we speak, 2023, we understand you have only 524 of these projects complete.
You see, we have...
That's a long way to go.
Actually, it should be more than that, but I can't debate the numbers here.
Okay.
But you see, President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, his philosophy for education, intervention, and expansion of facilities captures that of President Kufuor and President Mahama and Mills. President Kufuor did the model schools, upgraded existing schools, and a number of schools across the country got huge infusion of infrastructure, and the schools were transformed. Kumasi Anglican in Kumasi and a number of them. So he did the model schools, transforming existing schools. President Mills and Mahama then did the new schools, the E-blocks, which is new. Nana Danko Akufo-Addo's approach is this. Existing schools, new infrastructure expansion. So you go to Pokwari, Prempe, KSTS, a number, Tamasco. New facilities have been built in the existing schools. But he also decided to build new schools. And that is where you see all these new schools also under construction. So he's combining enhancing facilities in existing schools and building new schools. So literally doing what President Mahama and Mills did and President Kufuor did, and doing both at the same time. So in terms of, so you look at this facility, and this is your new junior high school.
Right.
This is going to replace the old rectangular shaped buildings painted brown and yellow. And you're going to go here, and it's not just an architectural rendering because a number of these are under construction.
But you are augmenting the E-blocks.
Of course. We've opened more E-blocks done under the NDC government. They have started it. And I'm on record to say that E-block is a great edifice, great opportunity for teaching and learning. The location is what becomes a challenge for you as you begin to operationalize. So you look at Domiko Abinya, you look at Frafraha, these were in urban areas. By the time they finished, packed with students, everywhere that E-block has been built an urban area, students are in, and we've even added more buildings at the location. However, if an E-block is built in a remote location, in a village somewhere, where you have to walk 5 miles from the village to get to, then unless you provide dormitory blocks, you can't operationalize it. So if you look at what we've done at Nsaura, we've added dormitory blocks. You go to Adansia Peja, there was a huge noise made about it? When are you opening? Then we went there and built dormitories. So now Adansia Peja is no longer a community day school because the town has one junior high school. So if you build a school that has capacity for 1,200 and it's a day school, only the residents from the town can go. But the moment you add a dormitory block, then the area students can then come there and then the building becomes more useful.
So the E-blocks, as we understand, there were 22 of them that had been completed by 2016, and you have ensured the completion of 15 additional
even more
E-blocks.
Now, because now we've opened more.
Okay.
So the whole idea is that open but add a dormitory, if it's not in the city.
All right.
If it's in the city, open without dormitory, you'll be fine. So all those in remote locations, we are adding dormitory blocks.
All right.
Once you add a dormitory block, then the building becomes more useful to the taxpayer. And that is what our approach has been, that if it's in a remote location, unless you add dormitory blocks, we've attempted opening of some schools where only one student will show up because they cannot be day students at those locations. And therefore, the whole E-block thing, good idea in terms of infrastructure, wrong policy in terms of location, and you have to right that wrong to make the buildings useful to the Ghanaians.
If you're just joining us, we are having an interaction with the Education Minister, Dr. Yao Osei Edichum, on the back of the Wassee results that's being touted. Of course, that's the fact that they are the best so far that the country has chalked, but there have also been concerns that have been raised and he's seeking to address them. Like I said, your comments, send them in and we will share them with him. Eugene Oseitutu is asking, is it a question? He says, Dr. Osei has remained one of the few bright spots within this regime. Many challenges still remain, but when you scan around, he stands out as one of the few working ministers. Hakeem Nuruddin, is it, says, please ask the minister, how far have they gone with the printing of textbooks for JHS students, especially English textbooks? I'm a JHS English teacher in the Upper West region, and I can confirm to you there are no textbooks at all. It's a big struggle for us. And that brings me right to my perhaps next and final leg of this discussion, including questions of curriculum.
Curriculum, a big thing in terms of changing what students we teach students and what they learn, making it more hands-on, critical thinking, bringing STEM. You can't memorize STEM. You can't memorize the construction of robotics. You can't ask a student to describe how do you build a robot.
Right.
They have to build a robot. So if you look at what has been happening in that space, if you look at a school like Efia Kubiampem, where they started, teachers starting aviation and aerospace club, and now we are taking that, we are making a full-scale career pathway for students. You go to a place like Accra High, there's a STEM center there, and now students get to do engineering sciences at Accra High School, which is embedded with robotics and coding, and it's fascinating when you go and look at what they are doing with their heads and with their hands. So and
are you delivering on the one student per laptop?
It's coming.
Because you need that to go hand in hand with this kind of introduction.
Coming very soon. So far I have 450,000 of them, and beginning January, deployment is going to happen across the length and breadth of this country. And with connectivity at the various schools, we are changing the space of education at the secondary level. It's a transformation that people are going to see. Because you see, if you look at what this young man is doing on our screens, this is a young man who gets to visit Accra STEM, Accra High School, and these young ones go there and they do coding, they do robotics. In fact, the kind of equipment and tools that they've been exposed to is hard to find, even in developed nations, and it's here in Ghana. So the curriculum is driven by the equipment and the tools that you make available.
So what we are seeing here is a public facility.
Public facility, Accra High School, and the students are there. And if you go there, and my friends see pictures of them and say, is this Ghana? Say,
it looks like a private Montessori sort of
Public schools are going through transformation. So what we are looking at is this. Whether it is about increasing our engineering numbers in the country, now we have pre-engineering programs. You can go to UMass, go to Pentecost University, and if you did not do science, they will give you 1 year intensive science coursework. After that, you can become an engineering student. So things are changing in the space of curriculum, what the students are learning from pre-tertiary all the way to tertiary. Now, in terms of textbooks, I don't give promises, but my colleague teacher who called in from the north about junior high school textbooks, within a month, he's going to see books in his school.
Within a month?
Within a month. I don't promise this, but I know what I'm...
It's been a major issue. You've been aware of this?
Yes, and it's going. The junior high school textbook will hit the classrooms. And when it starts, since I've made the pledge on your show, I'll show you the pictures of the delivery. And if I'll get a contact person of the teacher, I would love to have communication with him after this for him to be assured that we are fully aware and we are going to make sure they get the tools that they need in order to do well. But you see, the transformation that you are seeing, whether it's at KG level, these are KG classrooms in Ghana. It didn't used to be this way.
The question is how sustainable this is. It's been the biggest issue that has plagued our development, including in the education sector.
There's one thing I can tell you. Government can do what government wants to do. Government. If they want to do something, they can do it. When the model junior high schools that you're seeing, funded mainly by the Arab Development Bank, Badia. When I became the minister, they had funding to build same buildings, small rectangular shaped buildings. I made a case to them that if you help me put one of these buildings in a mid-sized town, I'll be able to bring all students there. I'll provide them quality education. I'll move the schools in the community from 19th century to 21st century. They said, go ahead and do it. So if I didn't have that philosophy and that passion, and I was not given the opportunity by the president, all this model school that you are seeing couldn't have been built. So that's why I'm saying sustainability depends upon the determination of a government, a mission-driven minister for education supported by the president, provided resource by the minister for finance, you will see transformation. Sustainability is the government determination and fierce determination that education has to be transformed. And when that is there, transformation will happen.
There's a question as to whether the guarantor system, the new one that you have introduced, is actually working. Because there were that out of 20,000 applicants, only 20,000 received funding. And that is a challenge.
20,000 applicants?
Yes, 30,000 applicants, only 20,000 received funding.
30,020 received funding?
Yes.
Not bad for a percentage, but I know the other 10,000 also need support.
Okay.
So I will liaise with Nana Ejeyebo, a fantastic guy doing some great job at the Student Loan Trust Fund, and see what needs to be done. Because you see, the guarantor policy that we had put in place was disadvantaging those coming from less means. My mom didn't work for government. He definitely doesn't have social security contribution. My dad didn't do. So if I was to look at that circle, immediate circle, family circle, to access student loans, I can do it. So a number of students did not even apply because they could not get access to, because they need a guarantor who has social security contributions, net contribution to be used.
Right.
So this system is better, but of course we have to find more resources to make sure, and I'm concerned about the 10,000 who didn't get it.
All right.
Yeah, so I'll liaise with him to see the best way forward to make sure everybody who applies get that wonderful opportunity. I think you're seeing images of some Boston STEM Academy, one of the, I would say the first girls STEM high school,
all right.
Probably in West Africa. A school dedicated towards STEM like none other. And this is a school that we have affiliated purposefully with Wesley girls. So Ms. Jokoto, a distinguished former headmistress of Wesley girls, is in charge of the school, mentoring the headmaster, headmistress, mentoring the teachers, mentoring the students, and the outcomes are beginning to show. So you see, what we have done in this country is that we start a new school, we leave it to sink or swim. And invariably, the new schools struggle. That is why we only have 54 high-performing schools. What happens to the about 900? We have to begin a process where we know the best practice of Wesley Girls. We take those best practices and infuse it into the new schools. So Abomosu STEM School, for example, is affiliated with PRESEC. We've taken assistant headmaster from PRESEC, we've put him there so that the best practice of PRESEC can be infused into the school. I have no doubt in my mind that within the next 5 years, you're going to get some high-performing, high-demand schools to reduce the pressure on the existing high-performing schools. So, for example, this year, the demand for Bosomtwe STEM, unbelievable. The Category A schools, they were competing with them. They filled up faster than most of the Category A schools because it's in high demand. So the bottom line is that you cannot just build a new school and leave it to just be there.
Right.
You know the best practices, and those best practices should be practiced at that new school so that parents will begin to demand. The pressure on the so-called Ivy League schools is so high, and we have to...
Before you take leave of us, there are some parents who are not excited about what you have put them through in the last month.
Oh, the parents, I'm so sorry if they've gone through some terrible time, but we've improved this year than any other year. You see, the past few years, you only have 69% who will get schools of their choice. This year, we did 80.9% who got the schools of their choice. And then the 19%, the interesting thing is that we ran the whole placement system again. We asked schools to give us extra spaces, and then we did automatic placement again. For the first time in the history of school placement, we have 99.5% of students getting their schools. Never happened before. I sat with the staff, and I said, artificial intelligence is here. There's no reason why we can't do a better job. I commend the leader of the team, Mr. Dakwa, the Free Senior High School coordinator, and his able team. They came together with IT experts. They were able to secure spaces for 99.6% and still counting. My goal is to make sure that 100%. And you know, this year, it has been interesting. We had the largest takers of the exam, the BEC. This year was over 600,000, never happened before. And so far, 585,000 has been placed in their schools of choice.
The speaker suggested to you, as it were, represented parents' concern to you that you didn't have to let them go to school for just, is it 2 weeks or less?
2.5 weeks,
yes.
Thereabout. You see, when school starts, you go, you do your orientation, you do all the sort of things they want the students to do, and then instruction begins. We had to do something. The thing we needed to do is to bring our high schools to the pre-COVID era in terms of our instructional calendar. And what had happened over the years is that we are moving gradually towards that place. Last year, or this academic year, it began in February. The next academic year is now beginning in December. So it tells you the next academic year will now be shifting to September, and everything will be great. Not opening school meant we're going to open in January, and then we'll be 1 year behind our calendar. You see, and what people didn't also know that before school begins, you procure your perishable items. If students had not gone, all those would have gone to waste. So those of us in the inside saw that changing the date was not feasible.
All right. We will make another date because there are a number of issues, challenges, and questions that you will have to respond to.
And opportunities for transformation of our education system that I want to showcase to Ghanaians.
Thank you very much.
So we need to come back.
Thank you very much. And that's Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, who is the Education Minister and MP for Bosomtwe. We have been interacting with on your final edition of the show for 2023. I hope you relaxed and were able to enjoy just a bit of this interaction. Thank you very much. What's going on? Thank you very much. Right. Thank you.
Can leave now?
Yes.
All right.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. as we get into the season, getting you to relax, just relax and enjoy the conversations that we are having. The next one coming up is very troubling. And then after that, we will look at the question of the contract lie. Yeah, a lie about a particular contract, and find out if what we are being told represents the truth or it's anywhere close to the truth. So this week started with Catholics and even non-Catholics the world over agitated at news that sought to damage the image of the world's biggest Christian denomination with the largest membership and impact on society. Popular U.S. evangelist, president of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, Franklin Graham, joined many in slamming Pope Francis. He wrote, quotes, "So-called blessings from religious leaders won't save you from the judgment of God," end quote. He said, "You can't bless what God calls sin," unquote. Catholic bishops elsewhere have rejected what was reported, or is it misreported, as authorization for Catholic priests to bless same-sex marriages. So here, we want to speak to a Catholic bishop about what exactly this means. There have been several interpretations to this particular development. So keep your dials here, particularly, of course, it's not just about Catholics, even if you are a non-Catholic, because non-Catholics are equally concerned. Share with us what your views are, and if you have come to appreciate the issues better also, let us know as well. So let your messages come in respect of this issue as well, because it's been very troubling, particularly even in some circles. You find certain Catholics that they don't seem to take what the Catholic bishops have said to be the gospel truth. They have suspicion, and some have said this is just an attempt to test the waters, because it does appear to them that the Catholic Church may want to join that other church to accept, people of this class, LGBTQ. Joining us for this discussion is the Most Reverend Joseph Kwekue Frifa Ejekum, Catholic Bishop of Koforidua. Good morning, and thank you very much for making time to join us.
Good morning, and
right.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So I'm just looking at the statement that the Catholic bishops issued, and it was categorical that Catholic bishops or priests, Catholic priests, have not been authorized to bless same-sex marriages. I read the first paragraph. It says, "We, the members of the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, have seen the need to issue this statement in the wake of the publication on 18 December 2023 of a document from the Dicastery of the Doctrine of the Faith entitled Fiducia Supplicans, Supplementing Trust on the Pastoral Meaning of Blessing. Following its publication, some TV and radio news items as well as posts on social media have falsely stated that Pope Francis has formally given Roman Catholic priests the permission to bless same-sex marriages. This publication has caused a lot of consternation among many people, Catholics and non-Catholics alike. We would like to make the following points. Firstly, the declaration does not, very emphatic, does not give Catholic priests the permission to bless same-sex marriages. Your Lordship, what is the explanation? Because from the documents from the Vatican, people's reading and understanding is that you have been giving the authorization to bless same-sex marriages.
Thank you very much for reading the introductory part of the Pastoral, the letter from the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference. And let me also start off by quoting from the Catholic Catechism, and then afterwards I'll come back to the point that you have just raised.
All right.
And I'm reading from, if you permit me, I'm reading from 2357 from the Catholic Catechism, which states, because it talks about the whole document or debate is about same-sex marriage or homosexuality.
That's right.
So the church's teaching is that homosexuality refers to relations between men or between women who experience an exclusive or predominant sexual attraction toward persons of the same sex. It has taken a great variety of forms through the centuries and in different cultures. Its psychological genesis remains largely unexplained, basing itself on sacred scripture, which presents homosexual acts as acts of grave depravity. Tradition has always declared that homosexual acts are intrinsically disordered and gives biblical quotation to that. They are contrary to the natural law. They close the sexual act to the gift of life. They do not proceed from a genuine affective and sexual complementarity. Under no circumstances can they be approved.
Under no circumstances can they be approved.
And that is from the Catholic Catechism, which is the basic book that we use in teaching our Catholic faith and our Catholics. So with this document, for example, the next day, for those who are listening to us, they could read further 2358, but I won't go there immediately. So now to the point that you have raised from the declaration from the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Ghana. It is quite obvious that, yes, reading through the entire document, we are not being asked intrinsically to bless same-sex marriages.
Please hold on there just for a minute. In the document from the Vatican at page 20, which is the English translation of the declaration, on the title, on the pastoral meaning of blessing. In paragraph 3, it begins by saying that as with the Holy Father's above-mentioned response to the dubia of 2 cardinals, this declaration remains firm on the traditional doctrine of the Church about marriage, not allowing any type of liturgical rite or blessing similar to a liturgical rite that can create confusion. The value of this document, however, is that it offers a specific and innovative contribution to the pastoral meaning of blessings, permitting a broadening and enrichment of the classical understanding of blessings, which is closely linked to a liturgical perspective. Such theological reflection, based on the pastoral vision of Pope Francis, implies a real development from what has been said about blessings in the magisterium and the official text of the Church. This explains why this text has been taking on the typology of a declaration. It is precisely in this context that one can understand the possibility of blessing couples in irregular situations and same-sex couples without officially validating their status or changing in any way of the church's perennial teaching on marriage. This declaration is also intended as a tribute to the faithful people of God who worship the Lord with so many gestures of deep trust in His mercy, and who, with a confidence, constantly come to seek a blessing from Mother Church. Yes, please go on.
Okay, thank you very much for making reference to that aspect of the declaration. And let me also continue by saying, when the news was splashed in CNN and other media or communication screens, the highlights, gave the impression that the Holy Father has given permission to priests to bless same-sex marriages. In fact, when some of us saw it, I personally, when I saw it on a Ghanaian television because the whole day had been very busy when the document was issued on the 18th of this month. I said, what is happening? That was my first question. Mm-hmm. And so I called even one or two bishops to ask them. And they said, no, that is not the intention of the Holy Father or the document. So what I can also say after mentioning that one is that, the document, I think, has gone too far in trying to explain in words and theological and scriptural balance that are often very difficult for many of us to even appreciate or to understand, And if you look at the whole document, as you may also have, bringing this down into even our language, which is our vernacular, becomes so difficult to come down to the people, Ga, Nzima, or Eve, or Akan, or whatever. It's not easy to explain these things. And in my view, looking at the document, especially from the introduction, and then I will link it up with the decision from the document from the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference. The first three, the introduction of the document, that is the declaration on the 18th of December this year, should be suffice for any clarification as far as this document is concerned. On paragraph 2, if you have the same document that I have, it states the reason for this declaration. And in paragraph 4, 5, and 6, which is the blessing in the sacrament of marriage,
right,
it states, just as you have also quoted, what is marriage, the essence of marriage, the understanding of marriage by the Catholic Church, and what can be done, what cannot be done. And then the declaration, I think, could have even ended on paragraph 6, because these first paragraphs capture, in my view, everything. And I think it's the elaboration in trying to elaborate what biblical meaning of blessing and so forth. This is what is, and then of course, blessing same-sex marriage, yes or no, and so forth. Because when you look at for example, paragraph 39, there's a certain confusion there.
So if I may read paragraph 4 to you, the paragraph you just referred to. It says, Pope Francis's recent response to the second of the 5 questions posed by 2 cardinals offers an opportunity to explore this issue further, especially in its pastoral implications. It is a matter of avoiding that something that is not marriage is being recognized as marriage. Therefore, rites and prayers that could create confusion between what constitutes marriage, which is the exclusive, stable, and indissoluble union between a man and a woman, naturally open to the generation of children, and what contradicts it are inadmissible. This conviction is grounded in the perennial Catholic doctrine of marriage. It is only in the context of that sexual relations that find their natural, proper, and fully human meaning, the church's doctrine on this point remains firm. So if this is the church's doctrine, that marriage is one between a man and a woman, and any other which contradicts that is inadmissible, what is the purpose for this document?
Okay. If you read further, if you had read number 5, it also clarifies this whole business. And let me also explain. You see, when we talk about blessing, we need to explain what we mean by blessing. As a priest, as a bishop, I walk around, I go to parishes, I go to places, hospitals, and so forth, prison. And you meet people, oh, Father, oh, Bishop, can you bless me? Whether the person is a Catholic or not Catholic, I can never refuse that blessing. Sometimes even I go further to ask, what is the intention? Why do you want this blessing? And some will state, maybe my business is not thriving, maybe my marriage is not going well, maybe I am going to write examination, I need some blessings so that to strengthen me to be able to get through my examination, and so on and so on. Why cannot I go to a hospital, I visit a particular patient, and then in that ward, there are other patients. And so after visiting my patient, as it were, after praying for that particular person, I always say, please, can I pray for all of you? I do that daily. So with this in mind, I don't think that a blessing of people should actually be restricted to have any confusion. But of course, when the document talks about blessing the same-sex marriages, if, for example, I am there as a bishop or a priest, and I have 2 men standing before me, or 2 women standing before me, and they ask me for a blessing, if their intention is for me to bless their union, I'm sorry to say, even if I bless them, it becomes illicit. It doesn't, as it were, make it a sacrament. So the sacramental and non-sacramental needs also to be clarified. And so if the people tell me before I do the blessing that, oh, we want the blessing so that it's like considered a holy union, if I use the word, or a marriage, that one I will beg them, say, please, that one I cannot. And I think that is why this confusion seems to be coming up. And since the issuance of this declaration, I'm sure you may have come across a lot of bishops' conferences around the globe, Africa especially, from Ukraine, from Kyrgyzstan, and so forth. They have all issued statements the way they are understanding this document. In fact, coming at the time that it came, it also has created a lot of pain. And I was happy when you were introducing the program, you said it has agitated the minds of many Catholics and non-Catholics. Mm-hmm. Even I would say, I will add the word that, yes, it assisted us so much, trying to, as it were, explain what this document is all about. But as I mentioned, this document could have ended on paragraph 6, that is the introduction, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think they would have, as it were, given us a respite in trying to go through all these issues of trying to explain to our faithful Catholics and even non-Catholics.
So how did you feel when you got reactions, including from Catholic bishops in Malawi, which was published, that Catholic bishops in Malawi reject Pope's call for same-sex blessings?
Yes, that is the interpretation or understanding of the Bishops' Conference. And even the one from Cameroon is even stronger, in case you have laid hands on that one. And I'm sure you may have also had the interview that the Archbishop of Kumasi also made. And they are making it categorical that we will not bless same-sex marriage, for that matter as a marriage, understanding it to be a sacrament. As for that one, I think it's been made clear. And that is why the Nigerian Bishops' Conference, the Malawi bishops, and so forth, Kenya, and so forth, have all come out with statements. But from Ghana, what we have just mentioned is that, yes, that is not the mind of the document. But no, I don't think any Ghanaian bishop is going to bless same-sex marriage with the understanding that it is a sacrament.
So you, and I think even in your premise, before you started explaining, you admit that this was sort of self-inflicted, to the extent that even certain bishops elsewhere took it to mean the confusion.
Yes, yes. You see, the underlying current is all these efforts and attempts by LGBTQ to try, to get the church to accept and acknowledge same-sex marriage as part of the Catholic sacrament. And this is what is creating also, most of us are quite afraid of. And we need really to work seriously towards that one. We stand by our faith, we stand by our tradition, our culture, and so on. And so I don't think anybody would like to go into that one, to disturb the faith of our people.
The question remains, why was this necessary in the first place? Why did it become necessary to make such a declaration, as in the Vatican?
That is, you see, as it is stated in the document and the introduction, because some two cardinals had presented dubia. Dubia means some concerns that they had, challenges, pastoral challenges to that effect. And of course, Western world, especially the German bishops, were also agitating, for the blessing of same-sex marriages. And so when among the documents that these two cardinals presented, one of them was blessing of same-sex marriage. And that is why on the 22nd of February, for example, the congregation for the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith came out with a statement on that. And then when the dubia came, they also had to, as it were, extend or expand it. And so it is the dubia that was explained was 22nd of February, the year 2021. And then this year, there was this second appeal. And so that is why the congregation, dicastery for the doctrine of faith, decided to come out to respond to this dubia. And the document makes it clear that, yes, in consultation with the Holy Father. But what some of us are also saying is that, just as you have also mentioned, was it really necessary? And even if it was necessary at this time. But as I have just stated, I think they expanded the explanation too much. I think the statement should have just been made, we cannot bless same-sex marriage as a sacrament. And that's it, But to go on to try to explain biblical meaning of blessing, theological meaning of blessing, and so forth, these are not things that, for us simple people in Africa and what we call the mission countries, these are not our major pastoral concerns. We have more demanding pastoral concerns that we need to, as it were, delve into, and for the church to help us to resolve, and not, as it were, limiting ourselves so much or concentrating so much on the same-sex marriage blessings.
So please repeat again for the understanding of the lay person. What is the difference? What is this declaration requiring Catholic priests to do, and how is it different from blessing a marriage of same-sex couple?
Okay, thank you very much. In the Catholic Church, marriage, if it is celebrated in the church and witnessed by a priest, becomes a sacrament. At the same time, the church also acknowledges and even requires that before couples come before the church for blessing or for the nuptial blessing, that they also would have done the traditional one and the civil marriage also. These are requirements, especially because of hereditary and what is the word? I can't remember it. When somebody dies,
Inheritance.
The inheritance, exactly, yes. And so these are the requirements. The priest is a witness to that sacrament. And it is also a stated fact, just as I have quoted from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, 2357 and 2358, that the church does not admit and does not bless sin. It's stated in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. So what this document is trying to say, which I have said that yes, it has elaborated it too much to the extent that it has brought a little bit of confusion to many, and it was needless. And so the point of the church should remain that, yes, we still stand by what the tradition of the church and the practice of the faith, and especially when it comes to the liturgical act of blessing marriages. And marriages, as we understand in the church, is between a man and a woman. Over there, overseas, internationally, people now don't want to talk even about gender, but we have no choice. I'm born a man, you are born a woman. So we cannot deviate from that. And also, it must also respect the sensibilities and cultural sense of the communities that the churches are in.
Right.
Asia, in Africa, and so forth. I'm sure you agree with me that even till now, in this country, many communities, if they really get to know that, for example, a man and a man or a woman and a woman have had an affair, they are banished from the community. It's a taboo. In some places, even they will, slaughter a goat or a sheep or something and pour the blood on you. That is fine, the tradition. Not too long ago in Kranza, I read something about it. And so the sensibilities of our people should not also be underrated. And I think that is one area that we have to understand. And so to answer your question directly, I understand it that the church is not, or this declaration is not asking us to bless sacramentally any such union. One of the paragraphs which may have created such confusion is that which is unfortunate, and eventually we hope that this thing will not also happen. And yes, and then also that we can bless same-sex marriages. But then blessing can be given to people for different reasons and for different intentions. That one, we should not discriminate.
So as the document says itself, that marriage in the Catholic Church must be one between a man and a woman, and that any other that contradicts that is inadmissible.
Exactly.
And yet, it encourages you of what it says, the possibility of blessing couples in irregular situations. Can you explain to us what other irregular situation there will be for couples aside the same-sex couples, which it says you should think of a possibility of blessing the couples without officially validating their status or changing in any way the church's teaching on marriage?
Yes, that is the paragraph 31, item 3 on the document, which speaks about blessings of couples in irregular situations and of couples of the same sex. Irregular situations means, I will understand it to mean a man and a woman, but who are not married sacramentally. We will call it irregular situation. And then the other aspect is the couples of the same sex, which will be another category. And so in the case of the first one, definitely we are not blessing. It's almost like the same thing with the same-sex marriage. Until the couples really go through the requirements of the church as far as preparing yourself to receive that sacrament of marriage, any blessing that comes up is not sacramental. And the same thing, in my view, applies to same-sex. So the people would have to prepare themselves, avail themselves of the demands of the church as far as satisfying the requirements of the church by way of our understanding of marriage before that marriage can be done. And it can only be done according to the rite, that is the liturgical rite of the church.
So
in the same way, okay.
Is it accurate for me to say you are blessing the individuals in, call it an ordinary blessing, that God has elected you or God has blessed you to be in this special position, and people come to you, as you say, and ask for your blessing, so you impart the blessing. So you are blessing them as individuals, even if they were sinners. Of course, that's why, Christ came to die. You go to the prisons, for example, and you bless people. This is the same thing, and not the marriage, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Technically, what you are saying is that which is the mind of the church. If the people, definitely this thing is not going to happen, for example, in the church. It's not going to happen during a liturgical celebration.
Okay.
It may be after Mass or after church service, or you have met them, you've gone to their house and as a pastoral visit, and they ask for a blessing. Why not? I cannot refuse that one. But it should not be taken that, the priest came here or the bishop came here or we met him and he imparted a blessing on us. And so we are now married in the sense that it's now become a sacrament. That is not the mind of the church.
So as it may be said, the ultimate blessing is the Holy Communion. Does it mean, through your explanation, does it mean as people will be in what you call irregular relationships or situations, will not be able to receive communion, the same applies to such people?
Yes, that is the stand. The meaning the church puts to this. It's not yet a sacrament, and so they cannot go to access Holy Communion.
What will you say, perhaps finally, to those who feel that this is subtle and an attempt to prepare the minds of the biggest church in the world to begin to think about accepting this same-sex people? What would you say about that? What would you say to such people, that this is deliberate?
Well, I don't know, but let me, maybe before I answer the deliberateness or not, the thing is that, one, the church has never despised homosexual people or people living in same-sex people. And we have always preached that we should show them love and bring our pastoral closeness to such people and help them. And that is what the church teaches us. And the Pope, I think, has made it one or the other point earlier that we should feel close to these people and engage them so that pastorally we would be able to, bring them to come to see, to change. And it does not also mean that we are affirming their relationship or their union. No, but it's just that we try, just as Jesus, handled the prostitutes and people who were, as it were, pagan, so-called pagans and so forth. He went to the so-called sinners. We have to be with them. And the Holy Father has said that we should also smell like the sheep. And so smelling like the sheep doesn't mean that you also become, you are blessed, you are accepting the sin. The sin aspect definitely is something that we have to work hard. So that is what I would say. And then back to your the people who how did you even put it? Sorry.
If you like, I may say your detractors. Like they say in our local parlance, your detractors may be happy that eventually this is coming up. And to say, for example, after you have given your 101%, blessing to the bill that is before Parliament now, then suddenly we heard Cardinal Turkson, who is rumored potentially could become the first, Pope, so to speak, Black Pope, give an interview to international media and say, oh no, let's be careful, let's not criminalize ABC. And people say, you don't seem to be sure what you want to do, or this is exactly where you are leading us to.
Yeah. If I will use your word, detractors, or maybe people who are in a subtle way hoping that this thing will change, I think the church that I am in and that I'm a member, I don't think is going to change its doctrine and its practice as far as this issue is concerned. I think the church is quite firm, and I don't foresee in the very near future or even into the future that the church will change its mind. So they should not be worried. Definitely, when these statements come up, it agitates the minds of people. And we hope that these will be minimized or even be curtailed for the greater glory of God and also for the simple people of the Catholic Church. And so it is my hope that these things, topics will not continue to, because the stand of the church is quite clear. It is not going to change. But seeing somebody who is a homosexual doesn't mean that people should attack them, should beat them. No, that one, it should not be. They are human beings. They have a right. We should not, as it were, attack them because they are homosexuals. But at the same time, that is what I would also say, that you see, they are often becoming so loud, advertising it and so forth. And that is what sometimes make people also come out, and it almost becomes like a head-on collision. If you are saying this, we also have a right to say what we also stand for. I mean, if you go to the US and Europe and so forth, there are people who are totally against this. Transgender, people who have changed their sex and so forth. And people are against it. But it doesn't mean that, it is an acceptable thing across the globe. And people should be allowed also to have their own view and remain where they want to be. And so that, you being here, you being there, let's respect ourselves and not, as it were, make it like a fight. But at the same time, please, don't let us pump and push unnecessarily some of these, which are, to a large extent, not the norm, or it's not natural.
Thank you very much, Your Lordship, for reaching beyond your parishioners. And we know that starting tomorrow, or any masses will have to continue to educate those who have been downhearted, particularly until the explanations began to pour in. Thank you very much for your time once again.
I thank you, and I know definitely that it's going to be one of our pastoral engagement this Christmas, 24th night, and into the new year. And we are going to do our best with the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And I wish all your viewers a blessed, a Merry Christmas, and a prosperous, peace-filled New Year 2024. Thank you.
That was going to be my last request, but a bird whispered to me that yesterday was a special day to you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm waiting for the hamper.
Right. Thank you very much. All right. And that has been the Most Reverend Joseph Kweku Efrifa Ejekum, Catholic Bishop of Koforidua, explaining further what the Catholic Church has sought to explain since Monday, when the publication went viral that there was a certain declaration or order or authorization from the Pope Francis for them, authorizing them to bless same-sex couples. You have now understood it, that the church's position remains what is in the communique itself. The communique, part of which those reports don't carry. Unfortunately, the reports don't carry that part of the communique, which is unequivocal that the Catholic teaching on marriage remains a union between a man and a woman, and that any other such that contradicts that is inadmissible. But as you hear him, they continue to say that the church has to be compassionate to people who find themselves with such sort of, identification, because Christ came for sinners, correct? So once again, happy birthday to Most Reverend Joseph Kweku Afrifa Ejekum, Catholic Bishop of Koforidua, and thank you for the explanation. And that also reminds me, Berimaya Okodie Opong, the man who has a special birthday on the 25th. He celebrates his birthday on 25th of December. Can you imagine? That is the director of the Ghana School of Law. Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. And the hamper that His Lordship saw and is waiting for is actually from Hensi Gifts. If you are looking to say thank you to your clients, your staff, family, and friends this season, look for Hensi's Gifts. They have got you covered. They are the connoisseurs of elegantly packaged flowers, baby baskets, and Christmas hampers made from quality UK and Ghanaian products. So for all your luxury hampers and affordable giftings this Christmas and beyond, contact Hensi's Gifts on 0555. Take the contact down, 0555 940 022, 0555 940 022. Best part is they will work with your budgets. Don't you like that? They will work with your budget. So for all your luxury hampers and looking for affordability, look for them. They are located at East Legon, Shashi, adjacent Gethsemane Memorial Gardens, next to Total Wine. You can follow them on Instagram at Hensi's and call them on the line that I gave you. It's spelled HEPHZIS. They say they are purveyors of elegance. We take a quick break. We return shortly to ask the big question. Is this SML contract a grand corruption? Parliament has asked that payment to the company be suspended pending their investigations. The OSP is also going into the matter. But how will it end? We'll tell you more about this interesting company that had absolutely no experience in this area and yet was handpicked sole source to do this job, and is now being given an extension of the contract to cover oil and gold. And some experts have said this is a typical create, loot, and share. They are getting paid for no work done. It does appear this is how some people are paying themselves or seeking to pay themselves for work they are not doing, and not exactly about the company. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. So far, we've just been, having a quiet time, so to speak, a good time. But we're going to the next discussion, which certainly will provoke some things. But before that, just a couple of your messages here. And Eben Odum says, I have a 2021 graduate who qualified and applied for admission into the College of Education for the next academic year. The admissions process ended yesterday. He didn't get admission. My information is that there is a strict quota system from the Ministry of Education. So when he was here, I was asking you guys to send those questions as quickly as possible. But the minister certainly is listening. And for those that there's the need for some action, he should be able to do that. Vine Maxwell says all these, the minister is saying here, how widespread, you meant to write, are the developments that he's talking about? Can he say same for the Upper East region and other such poor places? Okay, you never trust any of the politicians. Believe them at your own peril. But he's speaking with the evidence in front of you. How about that too? Emmanuel Jan wanted to know what has happened to the inquiry that the minister, the inquiry about the results in, okay, so it says investigations into the school placement for sale exposé by the Fourth Estate. It says we're eager, waiting for the outcome. And here on the Catholic Church and matters arising thereof, Alfred Asangu says the church didn't grant same-sex marriage. Rather, it encourages pastoral blessings. Pastoral blessings are different from sacramental blessings. Good. The bishop helped to explain that there are many people who are not like you. They are not Catholic, so they don't understand the difference between just the blessing, pastoral blessings, and what is a sacrament. Kusi Kwejo says, according to the Catholic Church Ghana, no priest will bless any LGBT couple. Statement recently made by the Ghana Bishops' Conference. Yes, we read portions of that. Solomon, their statement actually enforces the declaration which has been published. It simply enforces it. It doesn't really say anything different. How those that made the initial publications miss that, I don't understand. Solomon Kloko says, why bless that which God calls sin? Okay, you talk about Franklin Graham. You are asking a question and you want him, you say it is time one educates himself to be able to read through the scriptures and know God's original will for mankind and not accept man's interpretation. So your view is that his interpretation is wrong. Okay. Deku, you say the church's doctrine is clear and nothing will change it. A marriage is between a man and a woman. Anything else is un-Catholic. Thank you. K. Amofa says, is there any place in the Bible where a believer prayed for God's blessings for an unbeliever unwilling to repent? Unwilling to repent? I don't know about that. How do you say this is an unbeliever unwilling to repent? You must reach out to them until their last breath. Thank you very much. And now let's get to matters to do with this issue. Ghana's Controller and Accountant General from 2005 to 2006. Currently a board member of the Internal Audit Agency, Christian Tetesoti, who also was once an assistant commissioner at the GRA, has questions to answer, as I said earlier, because he's dealing with public funds. He, together with the GRA boss and the finance minister, they have questions to answer. He left his job as a technical advisor to the Commissioner General in 2019. The same year, a certain contract was given to manage this company with no track record, no experience in revenue assurance in the petroleum industry, and which was sole source to do revenue assurance services for government. Yes, Christian Soti says the government is this company's only customer since the company SML was established. SML has a contract for 10 years. And when I stated 10 years, I repeated it because I've seen the documents which were executed. We'll show them to you now. Because the GRA has issued a statement and contradicts that it's not a 10-year contract, it's 5 years. Until they show us that contract, we will go with what we have seen them sign, their signatures, the GRA, the Ministry of Finance, and this company. And they are entitled to over $100 million each year. The Executive Director for the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, Benjamin Boakye, says, quote, "It is a plug-in into the revenue stream of the state, taking money for no job done." Is he right about it? A mining expert also says that the contract with SML to monitor gold productions is, quote, "a typical create, loot, and share scheme to plunder the resources of the state." Is SML a duplication, even if it did the job that it says it is doing? The state, with the aid of third parties, introduced what is called the ERDMS in 2018, by which we are told every liter of petroleum product is accounted for the purposes of tax. That's what appears this company has also been recruited to do. We are told this ensures, quote, according to officials, 100% efficiency and transparency. The GRA confirmed this statement to the investigators who did this story. CEO of the National Petroleum Authority, Dr. Mustafa Hamid, in making a same confirmation, expressed doubts about the need for the contract with this company. In fact, he said the GRA, they need to sit down with this company to determine whether what they are doing should continue. The OSP has commenced investigations. Parliament yesterday also began some investigations and issued some orders for a suspension of the contract. This is a sneak peek into that investigative documentary.
At one point when government said they were bringing in SML to actually sit at the depot where the product is lifted. And in fact, that is where there isn't much problem.
To stop the revenue losses, the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, and the GRA have instituted policy and technical measures with the help of third-party companies.
Now your system starts with the ERDMS, and then it is ended on the ICOMS. It brings about transparency.
Since 2018, regulators in the industry introduced the Enterprise Relational Database Management System, ERDMS. This platform has the NPA, GRA, bulk oil distributing companies, BDCs, and the OMCs on board to ensure transparency, facilitation, and the tracking of transactions. A company whose taxes are due has not paid is automatically locked out of the system and cannot lift petroleum products from anywhere in the country. Another way the OMCs used to shortchange the system and cause revenue losses was the diversion of products. The NPA, through third-party service providers, has introduced electronic tracking of every truck that loads petroleum products. Each truck is mandated to declare where it will discharge the product. If a product is discharged at a different location other than the filling station declared, it sends an alarm to the tracking command center at the NPA.
When the truck leaves the depot, the command center takes over the monitoring of that particular truck. So if there is any attempt to siphon or to touch the product and all that, probably they would have to go through the electronic seal. Once they do that, an alert is being triggered to the command center, which is being picked up for further investigation.
That system is a live monitoring system. So instead of waiting for the crime to be committed before you come, we have now put in place a system whereby immediately we spot that somebody has stopped at a particular point to try to tamper with the seal or discharge. Efforts are made to get the nearest police station or some security service around the area to rush to the point.
There is the possibility of smuggled products finding their way into the market. To resolve this, the NPA has introduced the fuel marking system.
Fuel marking can be defined as the addition of a biochemical substance into the petroleum product. Now, this biochemical substance is added in trace quantities, very minute quantities, taking into context the quantity of petroleum product. And this biochemical substance gives the petroleum product a unique identity, like a fingerprint.
The ERDMS is linked to the GRA's Electronic Revenue Mobilization System, ICOMS. This means every transaction that takes place can be traced and taxed. Together with the presence of GRA officials manning all the depots ensure that every liter of product is accounted for, players in the industry say the system is robust enough to curtail the losses of the past.
The absence of the ERDMS at that time, where things were done manually and so on, were perhaps part of some of the regulatory challenges. But since that system was installed, a lot of that has been stemmed.
Without this electronic order, BRV cannot enter inside. And this information, when it comes from NPA portal, it is 100% correct.
Once you're able to track whatever is happening on the ERDMS to ICOMS, I mean, by and large, you have tracked all your volumes. And once you get the volumes right, we are likely to get the taxes also correct.
Despite the robustness of the system, the GRA has contracted a third-party company that is taking credit for all the gains made in the sector, making unsubstantiated claims of revenue savings and receiving millions of cedis for a service whose impact or relevance is difficult to ascertain. On the website of SML, it stated its services as follows. Quote, the SML digitalization of downstream petroleum product measurement has stemmed the tide of underreporting, diversion, and dilution of fuel products and general non-compliance in the petroleum sector. Officials of the Petroleum Division of the GRA expressed shock when we put the listed services of SML to them. Before we started our interview with the Managing Director of SML, Christian Soti, the GRA officials present raised the claim and SML management denied stating anywhere that the company was providing those services. When we pointed the claims to them from the company's website, the managing director of the company said they were mistakenly put on the website.
Oh no, we are not involved with diversion. We are only at the depot. If the thing is lifted, we don't know. It's GRA custom that will determine where it goes and they will follow us. We are not capable. We don't have men outside.
SML admitted its claims were false, and a few hours after our interview, those claims disappeared from the website of the company. The company does not check dilution, diversion, or underreporting, the three factors the company said accounted for revenue losses in the past. In February 2023, SML Ghana Limited again claimed that it had saved 3 billion cedis due to its operations. The company has admitted the services it listed on its website as curtailing irregularities in the sector did not exist and deleted them from the website. Even if SML was carrying out those services and all the incremental revenue within the period of its operations was credited to the company's efforts, the amount would be 2.4 billion cedis and not 3 billion cedis, as it claimed to have saved. When we put these figures to the managing director, he made a shocking admission.
That's why that 3 billion, I'm not. That's why I told you from the beginning. I said I don't know about this 3 billion.
We cannot say your intervention saved 3 billion.
No, I said 3 billion. I'm not. I've told you that I'm not aware, because when we were told about the publication, we even called the.
As we speak this morning, still on your website.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In fact, to be honest, I don't even know website matter.
Despite evidence that SML Ghana lied about the services it renders to the state and the amount of money it claimed to have saved, the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, this year decided that the company's contract should be expanded to cover the gold mining sector and the upstream petroleum production sector in Ghana. A contract cited by the Fourth Estate shows that SML Ghana is entitled to $0.75 per barrel of oil produced in Ghana. Ghana currently produces between 160,000 and 170,000 barrels of oil per day. The country is expected to add an additional 80,000 barrels per day from the Pecan oil fields, which is expected to be developed a little over a year from now. The company is also entitled to 0.75% of the total volume of gold produced in the country. Ghana last year produced 3.7 million ounces of gold. What this means is that per current arrangement, SML Ghana is entitled or will be paid over $100 million every year.
It is also important to note that although the GRA has contracted SML, the readings from the SML meters are not used by the GRA for its tax purposes.
It has been the way bill figure, which is meters, the volume that is being dispensed from the meters. That is the volume we use for tax purposes.
Which meters?
That is the gantry meters.
SML has confirmed to the Fourth Estate that the meters are the loading gantries of the depots, which are calibrated by the Ghana Standards Authority every 6 months, take more accurate readings than the meters of SML. These are the readings that are used for tax and revenue purposes and not the readings by the SML meters.
From the engineering perspective, if you have contact meters and non-contact meters, which of these two is likely to give you a more accurate reading?
Okay, so the contact meters are always the best.
We also know that the depots, they have the contact meters.
Yes.
You've alluded to the fact that the contact meters
are the best.
So, if the SML meters are less accurate and their readings are not the ones used for tax purposes by the GRA, can SML claim credit for the revenue increment in the sector?
Right. A company contracted to do 3 things, which it had also advertised on its website. Later, after these interviews and the expose, took those portions down. It appears those portions are back on its page because the GRA supports them that they have actually done and they are doing the work that they are supposed to be doing. Under declaration, diversion and dilution of petroleum products. So what do we say when the head of the company says, we don't do this, and we have not sought to advertise them? Even if you have seen it being advertised, that was an error. We don't do that. Joining me, Alexander Kofi Mensah Mould, former acting CEO, NPA, and he was CEO of the GMPC. He is Finance and Energy Advisor. Manasseh Azure Awene, who is lead investigator with his two other colleagues, Evans and Ajua, who did this documentary piece, is also joining us. Manasseh is presently a journalism fellow, Harvard University. We also have Richard Mafo, technical assistant to the managing director of the SML company. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. We have some 50 minutes, a lot of sufficient time to look at this story again. And as I mentioned, please send us your messages and we will share them. If you have questions, if you believe in the GRAs and the other statements that have come up seeking to deny some of the things you have seen in the documentary with the evidence, let's also know what you think. But first, Manasseh, it took you guys how long to do this documentary investigation?
Because we started the work somewhere late last year, November, December, with the groundworks, and by January we started contacting the NPA, and there were delays here and there, but we were able to finish, and by May, June, we had leave that GRA had other aspects of the sector that has to do or have to do with revenue. So we went to GRA. So it's about a year's documentary.
So why did it take you so long for such a serious story?
Well, we needed to get permission to visit all the places. And a typical example was when we contacted MPA and they agreed that they would give us access to the command center. We also needed permission of a sort from the third-party operators at those command centers. And at a point, some had traveled out of the country. So we had to wait. And in investigation, sometimes you need to understand one point before you move to the other. So when we went to GRA 2, it took some time to get all the permissions, and we write letters. A typical example is we write into the GRA in July this year to ask for documentation contracts, and till now they haven't given us. In November again, we wrote to the GRA invoking the right to information law and also the Ministry of Finance that we are aware contracts of this nature exist. So give them to us. As we speak, they have still not given us a contract. So we have to sometimes rely on people who are able to leak one document or two and then do the story. And I think so far, the only aspect of the story, or the documents we got from them, mind you, we didn't get these contract documents from anywhere else. Everything is from them. We have evidence to prove. We know that the only thing they are contesting is the number of years, which perhaps at a point they changed. But when we got these documents, it was 10 years. So some of those delays and getting permission becomes difficult. I think the only institution that responded very promptly was the Petroleum Commission, when we wrote to them to find out whether, as regulators of the industry, they knew about this. I think the Petroleum Commission took the RTR request very seriously, and they responded very promptly.
So you requested to be given or shown the contract, which is at the center of your investigations. And you wrote in July, you wrote in November, and you didn't get it. You didn't get it.
That is correct.
So the conclusion, therefore, is that you don't have the contract.
That is the official conclusion, but as investigators, you also rely on sources from within who know about the contract and who sometimes can leak a document or two to you. And it is common practice with investigation all over the world. The famous Watergate scandal, you hear something like deep throat process. The reason organizations won't give the contract is that they know that some of the things in there are not good enough. And if they don't give it to you, you don't have a story to sell. If you don't have a story to sell, that becomes the end of it. So they didn't, but we asked, and some sources leaked some information.
So just hold on for a minute for me, a second for me. For our radio audience, presently what we are projecting is contract for consolidation of revenue assurances between the government of Ghana acting through the Ministry of Finance and the Ghana Revenue Authority and Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited. The next slide you see is the execution page, the signature page. And you see there's a signature for the Minister of Finance. And there is a witness with a name and a known person also witnessing that. Then you have the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority also witnessing it. And in fact, when you look on it, you see a stamp. It's Ghana Revenue Authority, Commissioner General's Office. And you see the date of the stamp on it is the 25th of October, 2023. So you have the Commissioner General sign, you have a witness. The witness is an assistant commissioner for legal services. And then you have another signature by Evan Seduse, Chief Executive Officer of the company, Strategic Mobilization Limited, and that is also duly witnessed. And you see the stamp of the company also on this document. I will show you this last slide, and I'll continue with my interaction with my guests. There's a third slide. We showed you the title of the contract. The next one is the signature page for the contract. And the very final one, we are just showing you, yes, this very final one, you see the terms of the contracts. So you see, it says this contract shall commence on the effective date and shall continue in effect for a period of 10 years from the effective date, unless terminated as provided for in this contract, extended by mutual agreement between the parties. Then there is a renewal clause as well, when they may renew the contracts. So, Manasseh, what do you say to the major plank of one of the major, issues raised by the GRA in their statement to the public, which they say with emphasis that the contract is for 5 and not for 10 years? What do you say to that?
Well, Samson, we have still not got the contract. Nobody has published the contract anywhere. But we have also seen a page. So far, everything we have published about this contract, they are not denying anything, except the page 13, which is on the duration. We have seen a page circulating in some quarters, and I think sources close to the GRA and also the company, saying that page says it is now 5 years, subject to another 5-year renewal. And what we suspect is that at a point, that page was amended. And let me put on record that
Manasseh, the page you have seen, have you seen it with the execution page, signing where the people involved have signed? Have you seen it with any signatures?
I have seen that page separately. They are just separate pages.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is that when you look at the entire transaction, it appears a bit fishy because Kenoforiata, the Minister of Finance, the letter from the Ministry of Finance said the minister has determined that SML's contract should be expanded to cover so and so. We have attached a contract. The legal department of the finance ministry has reviewed it. So GRA should make inputs and what? Sign.
And this letter is dated the 22nd of June 2023, this year.
2023, yes. Now they have brought out a page from the Public Procurement Authority that appears to be giving approval for them to go ahead and award this contract to SML. And this is dated 27th of September, 2023. And everybody who is familiar with the procurement law knows that if you intend to award a contract based on single source procurement, you first apply to the PPA with what you intend to do, the name of the company. The PPA will give you authorization based on your due diligence on the company and what you want to procure before you go ahead to engage the company. But here is a situation where we have the finance ministry say, look, we have made a determination, we have settled on the company, and we have gone ahead to even do the contract. Make your inputs and sign. And then over 3 months later, we are now getting a PPA approval. And that PPA approval even says there's a previous approval that should be underwritten or overwritten. So a whole lot of things may have happened behind the scenes.
Right. Manasseh, hold on for me. The minister's letter is titled Expansion of the Scope of Work by Messrs. Strategic Mobilization Limited.
Yes.
This is the letter that says, this is the contract. It has been revised and it is attached. Let's go ahead and deal with it. Now, this is 22nd of June 2023. You are referring to a PPA process dated September of 2023, correct?
Yes, 27th September 2023.
Good. The contract document that you have relied on, which we have shown portions, has a GRA stamp dated the 25th of October 2023. You've seen that, right?
Yes.
And you still think that this contract would have been amended at a certain point? Between when? October to now?
I don't know exactly when the amendment may have taken place. But what I'm saying is that the pages we rely on, the information, whatever document we receive from sources within or close to the GRA and the Finance Ministry, have all these pages that we didn't publish only one page. We published a number of pages, but there's only one page that has been disputed. And I cannot tell, but I'm just trying to point out to you that in this process, if we want to even follow the chronology, something appears not to be right. Because the PPA approval, as we speak, says that or makes reference to the letter seeking the approval, which is dated 20th September 2023. So meaning, this contract was drafted, every arrangement was concluded. If you have to go by these dates, then in September, they are now going to seek approval.
Right.
So if they had given us access to this contract, which they alone have, perhaps all of this would not have come up.
The next and significant rebuttal from the GRA, which I want you to respond to, has to do with what the company is entitled. And they say you claim they have been paid, but they have not been paid. What's your response to that?
If you read our story, which is online with this conference, we said that there was an existing contract which we dealt with substantially. Then we moved from there and said that this year, the finance minister initiated another contract. And this contract says the company should go into the upstream sector and be paid $0.75 per barrel of oil lifted. Then, in the gold sector, the details we have from our sources says they should be paid 0.75% of total production, and they are going to do monitoring. And when we did the calculation, we have open source information, some of which we picked from the finance minister's budget statement, that says that we have 160,000 to 170,000 barrels per day as our production, oil production. And if you multiply $0.75 by 160,000 barrels, in a day you are getting like 120,000 US dollars that goes to this company. Then you go to the gold sector, and we also indicated where we got our figures from. And that is the gold production figures from 2022. And we produced 3.7 million ounces, and the finance ministry statement, parliament mentions 1,800 US dollars per ounce. We did the calculation there, you are getting about 50 million US dollars a year, plus about 38 to 39 million US dollars a year from the upstream sector. And the downstream sector, we got information that we requested that they give us the payments they've made to SML. As we speak, since July, our letter has not even been acknowledged. As we speak, we haven't got that information, but our sources again give us information about payment details, and we realized that some of the money, this company was paid up to 24 million Ghana cedis. And that in a year also comes to about 20 million US dollars. So if you put everything together, we said this company, per this current arrangement, is entitled to over 100 million US dollars. We have people like John Jinapo who are saying our estimates are even conservative because it's far more than that. But something I just want to emphasize that the number of years, whether 10 years or 5 years renewable, is not a substance here. And I'm saying this because when they signed the initial contract, it was in 2019. For the current arrangement, that contract will automatically last for 9 years. And with our experience, contracts of this nature, if you look at the revenue assurance contracts, when they come on board, they don't cease. Even when they cease, another takes over. If you look at similar contracts, there's a contract like that was signed in the first time. As we speak, it is still running, 2006 to 2023. It is still running. The substance here is the amount that will be paid, and if they say that the figures we have, or the duration we have, which we know comes from them, is not the final one that they signed, I am prepared to concede that we go by the 5 years. But that doesn't make it any less people that this is a company that is not, from the evidence we have, this company is not supposed to even be paid for a day, because in the gold sector, the experts tell us that there is no reason someone should come there.
All right.
In the oil sector, we are told there are already flow meters that are government.
Thank you, Manasseh. And Manasseh, the whole thing boils down to what they were supposed to do. The anomalies that they were supposed to curb under declaration, diversion, and dilution of petroleum products. How do you come to the conclusion categorically that they don't do any of this?
Samson, we went through the system, the value chain. And if you watch the documentary, we didn't make any of those claims. The claim that GRA is not using the SML measurement figures. This is not a claim we made. It is a claim GRA officials made in the premises of SML. They claim that the existing loading gantry meters take more accurate reading than the SML meters. It's not a claim we made. It's a claim that SML officials made on camera. The claim about these services were on the website of SML. And they said these are the factors that were causing the leakages or the revenue losses. And because we are checking these anomalies, we have been able to solve the problem. But when we went through the value chain, we realized that the ERDMS was doing a lot to check the shortages. And this has been confirmed by the GRA head of Petroleum, who spoke in the documentary, that once you get the volumes right through the ERDMS, which is connected to the icon, you get your taxes right. Then also we realized that there was a company checking the diversion, Rock Africa. They are doing the electronic tracking. And together with the tank gauging systems by the NPA, which ensure that they know the amount of product in a particular tank across the country. They were checking that. So we got to know all of this. So when we got to the GRA, we interviewed the GRA before we interviewed SML. And SML said, sorry, the GRA officials said that, look, the question you are asking us, we have no knowledge about it. We don't think SML is doing this.
All right.
So go and ask SML. So the morning we were to do the interview with SML, GRA officials were there. They even said, look, you raised these services. Now that we are here, SML should clarify. So SML itself told us they were not doing those services. And they proceeded to delete them from their website. So these are not claims that we made. They made those claims. We confronted them with the evidence. And they said that, look, what you said or what is on our website is not true. We are not doing them. And we don't check any under reporting. And they proceeded to delete them.
All right, thank you. Manasseh, hold on. We'll return to you finally before you go about what you think about what the OSP is starting to do and what Parliament appears to also want to do. We'll ask the former CEO of GMPC to hold on briefly for us. Richard Marfo, Technical Assistant to the Managing Director of the SML. Thank you very much for making the time to join us.
Thank you, Samson, and a great organizer. And Samson, I want to put something right here. I'll plead with you that Manasseh has had a lot of PR already in the public. We know your station, and we want to also have a little time to clarify some few things. But before I go on, I want to make some issues categorical first. before now we go into the main subject matter.
You won't let me ask you a question.
The first thing is this. You said...
Go ahead.
Come again.
Go ahead.
Okay. The first thing I want to put out there, a preamble I want to put out there, the context in which Manasseh came to ask the questions as if he's doing a documentary within the downstream is what answers he had. That's number one. Number two, there were some statements made here. I want to clarify them quickly. First thing is that the contract was 10 years. You see, what Manasseh has done is that he has done a big deliberate disservice to SML. A contract of 5 years. He went to the page, I'm alleging he went to the page where it's saying that 5 years, redacted whatever is there. And look at that page, that section 3.1. Look at the word even contractor instead of contracts he put there. And put out this thing out there and claim that that is the contract. That is one thing. And I want to stand by it. It is 5 years and it's not 10 years. Number two.
Hold on. Please, hold on. The contract that we have exhibited this morning on this show, duly executed, which the Fourth Estate relied on. This is the portion about the tenor of the contract. This contract shall commence on the effective date. Hold on. This contract shall commence on the effective date and shall continue in effect for a period of 10 years from the effective date unless terminated. You say we don't understand this English?
No, hold on. I'm never saying that. Something, please don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I'm asking, where is that source coming from? We are claiming that Manasseh put those words together. Simple. And at the right time, we'll go to we'll seek legal redress on those matters.
So please, hold on. So you are saying that, please wait, it is important. And please, I'm the one conducting this interview. We can have a very good discussion if you just take your time. We called you because we want you to respond, have the opportunity to respond further, even though you have already done that. Now, your statement is that this contract is manufactured, it doesn't exist. Is that what you're saying? You are saying it is altered?
Perfect. He put it out there. I'm alleging that Manasseh crafted this and put it out there.
You are alleging that Manasseh drafted the contract which portions we are projecting on TV now and put it there.
Perfect. 3.1. Plus, I've not gotten the time to go through all that he published, but with 3.1 specific, I can confidently say Manasseh did such a great service to the company. And I don't know what to say. But there's a lot of time to talk about some things. I don't want, but I'm putting it out right there that Manasseh crafted this thing. I'm alleging he did this. 3.1.
Okay. So what do you say to those who signed the contract?
Let me, something. You pick a contract page by page. The contract has been signed. You go into a section and you alter a certain section. For what purpose? Surely the signatures will remain contacts. Or don't you get the line of where I'm going to? Okay. And the contract you have seen is not in Word document. You agree? Perfect. Oh, but something, I don't want us to go into technology. I'm an AI expert. I'm also an accountant. PDF today, images today, we have what we call OCR, Object Character Recognition. You can just change this and send it back again. Right. Something, I don't know. This is simple thing you can now hold on. Please, I'm not asking you questions I don't know the answers to. To be frank with you, all the things you are about to say, you have already put them out in the public. But because we are having a show again, we want you to repeat them. Now, so you are saying that
Why do you think Manasseh will do such a thing? Pick the contracts and then manipulate a particular provision of the contract, change 5 years to 10 years. Why do you think Manasseh will do that?
Something, I'm sure by the time I'm done, you will get the true whole thing, and you should ask Manasseh to exactly the same thing. But I don't want to procure his intention. I don't think I can do that.
Okay. So my next question to you is this. Why did you take the portions in contention, which was on your website? Why did you take them down?
Samson, thank you very much. That is why I wanted to put a preamble there so that it's from the basis in which a lot of the questionings will flow into, so that your good listeners will also make their own independent.
Sorry, we don't have time. So if you can go straight to the answers, it will be good.
Okay. Okay. Now, number one, a website is not an application. It's purely what we call HTML, CSS, and probably little JavaScript for contact section. So if we have something in the website there, that is where I'm going to defend everything that we have here. And we can tell you by the time I'm done, you can know what the under declarations are, and I'll give you evidence to them. And this evidence will not be something that will come from SML. And evidence that you can go to a state institution and procure a copy for yourself. And this is not evidence that is put in place just now, but from the beginning of the time SML started this way.
Richard, that's not the answer to my question. Why were those, advertisements on your page taken down after the interview with you?
I'm not sure we took anything down. Something, please get there. You will see it's there. It's right there. I'm not.
The investigators took screenshots at each stage. Are you denying that one too?
Something, I deny that one too, please. I deny that one. I can also claim that some, Manasseh also did those things, and he can do that because he has done works with the contract, exactly what he did with the company's website too. Take the image of it, do a print screen, read something. I don't want us to go there much.
Please go there. We are listening to you. Just go there. We are listening to you.
Okay. I can say confidently, the same way Manasseh handled the contracts, 3.1, the section, rephrase that whole English there, and also change a significant element in it, which is a year of a contract, into 10, from 5 to 10. The same way I will stand on to say that he did to this website.
Okay. Do you appreciate why the contract was not given to the journalists when they applied for it through RTI, the law, using the law that requires you to give the contract? Do you appreciate why the contract was not given?
Something, please, I'm not GRA and I'm not Minister of Finance, so I'm sorry. That question.
Okay.
Minister of Finance and GRA to answer.
You were in the room in your offices, or what was the venue, when the interview was being conducted with Christian Soti, right?
Perfect. Now let me put this little thing out there. Before Manasseh wanted to come in, the GRA contacted us, and they told them that, MD is not around. Ask Manasseh will confirm this. He was trailing the MD just came. Then he called again. That Manasseh said, I've seen MD. Then they told Manasseh, his technical assistant is not around. So we wish his technical assistant is around for a lot of the things to be much more clearer to you, just like I'm going to do here. Manasseh said, no, he's just trying to do documentary to appreciate the downstream process. Then Mr. Soti came up. So for me personally, I was on tour with the chief executive on the same subject as to the downstream and also the upstream and the gold issue. I think we'll get into all that. So I was not around before Manasseh showed up.
All right. So you heard the answers from your MD. That one, Manasseh is not the one, or that one too, you have an issue. He went and twisted what your MD said. The clear admissions your MD said that you don't provide these services.
Good one. Let me answer the question directly. You see, something we are contracted by the Ministry of Finance in extension GRA. We are doing some work in there that we are not clothed with state powers to go and chase anybody, either a BDC or an OMC. So we don't have that right to say that there is under declaration or some diversions to communicated directly to BDC or OMC, because they are just third parties. It's the way Manasseh asks the questions and the answers he got. So something, let's get it that way.
He asks whether you provide these services. And his answer was that that's not what you do. You are saying Manasseh asked the wrong question?
No, I'm not saying he asked the wrong question.
Okay.
I'm saying that the context in which Manasseh came, the context in which he asked the question. In those contexts, if you get you have the full appreciation of all the videos, not just the ones he has just published. You will now know, or you will now appreciate where the MD's angle is coming from. And I would have answered the same thing, just like the MD did.
So your MD's response was a categorical denial that
no,
you, that
please,
we have the documentary. Please wait, we can play it back again for you, where he denied stating anywhere that the company was providing services that checked under declaration, dilution, and diversion of petroleum products.
Samson,
and then when he was pressed further and pointed to him that this was already advertised on your website, he emphasized that it was an error. Do you hear him say that?
Samson,
yes.
Let me tell you this. No, please, I'm pleading with you, Samson. I'm pleading with you. Someone have come from an angle within a certain context. And by the end of the day, we'll show you we have under declaration, diversion, evidence base with GRA. And I will tell you the business case upon which SML came. So I'm sure by the time we get into the meat of the issue, something, a lot of these questions.
Your boss said this. He said we are not involved in diversion. Okay, I want to understand you. You were sitting right there with the journalist when the questions were being posed. At that time, you didn't object to this.
I told you that the technical assistant to the MD, I was not there.
You were not there.
Okay. He should hold on. He said no. He still wanted to do some appreciation within the sector. I wasn't there, please. So something. You see, the relevant issue, Manasseh has done PR to a whole lot of issues. If we don't go into that, something, you've done us a big disservice.
What do you say when you hear Mustafa Hamid of the MPA say that they don't understand what you are doing and they are seeking to have a meeting with you because they don't understand what you are doing? The system already exists.
Let me answer it quickly. I think because of time, I think on the Mustafa Hamid issue. I'm really surprised at Mustafa Hamid. In that documentary, he claims he doesn't even know us. We have several secularization between SML and Mustafa Hamid. I can tell you on authority, Mustafa Hamid knows what we are doing. And by the time we go through that, we are not duplicating efforts in the sector. All Ghanaians will establish that. At the right time, in the near coming days, we'll put all the evidences out there. Let us Mustafa Hamid sign. Let us SML sign the kind of joint work we do together, only for him to say that if really Manasseh didn't also twist that video. But if what I saw, if that is the full thing, I'm also disappointed in Mustafa Hamid. But until we see the full closure of everything.
Until then, you have a suspicion that Mustafa's comments were also twisted by Manasseh. Okay. Richard, hold on briefly for me, okay? Just be a little patient with us. Hold on briefly for me. Alex Mould, thank you very much. And we bring you on because when the story broke, you suggested that you have encountered such attempts previously, and you knew that whoever it is were not up to any good, and you declined. From what you have seen in this documentary and the responses that have come forward, what will you say?
Well, first of all, the real question is, what value added are these SML guys bringing to the system, real? And what should be the remuneration if they are actually bringing value added? I think those are the questions that should be answered. And first of all, from my understanding of this industry, and I have worked since 1985 in this industry. I have climbed tanks, I've done volume, I've worked on the gantry, I've discharged products from ships. So we know all the tricks in the system. We know what we can do and what we can't do. When we got to MPA, we decided to address issues that were of concern to the players, including the customers, under-reporting, under-delivering, product contamination. That's the main gist of it. So NPA, and my belief is that we should build institutions. We should make sure that the regulator is working with the right petroleum service providers to provide solutions, and they should be paid or remunerated accordingly, not excessively, but accordingly. So BRV tracking, this is the bulk rod vehicles, the tankers, we put a tracking device on them, and we got all the OMCs and transporters to subscribe to it. That means that you would know where your tanker is at any time. If that stopped at on scheduled stop, you would know. The next thing was, how do we ensure the volume in the tankers are not reduced during the journey? So we put in volumetric tracking systems. This, I believe, has been replaced by an electronic cargo system where electronic seals of the hatches and valves are used. So we're addressing the problem of short delivering to the petrol stations and short delivering to the consumer, making sure the right products were done. The next thing we did was we had to ensure that the volumes that were coming into the country were the same volumes that were being delivered. And as such, the government was getting the right revenue. I do not understand why MPA, first of all, would allow a non-service provider to put flow meters in depots without being licensed. I don't understand it. If you're a player in the industry, you have to be licensed, and as such, MPA should know what you're doing. For MPA to say they do not know what the guys are doing, or they don't have a clue, or they're not associated with it, it's wrong. NPA is the regulator, and there's nobody in this country, not even the president, can order these people to do it without MPA approving it.
Why do you describe them as a non-service provider? Because the service they are providing, is for tax purposes.
They are a service provider. They are not a non-service provider. They are PSP. They are a petroleum service provider. If you put a flow meter in a depot, you are providing a service, and as such, you should be under the NPA. You should be licensed by NPA.
Even if your job was technically not about this industry, but for the finances of it, for audit assurance.
You still are, because you have to ensure that the health and safety of the equipment you are bringing into the system complies with the regulations of the country. So you are providing a service. So you have to be regulated by the NPA. So NPA should know about it.
Kindly hold on a second for me. Richard, what do you say to this?
Yeah, a good one. I think Alex Mould have just nailed the matter. Just like I was speaking about Mustafa Hamid issue. If he doesn't know us, we can never get there. And if we have not gone through the process of who does what, and there is any duplication of effort, we wouldn't have been there in the first place, which will go into the details.
But
Number two,
yeah.
Remember, if we have not got the right ISO certifications and the requirement thereof that MPA must certify before we get there, we wouldn't have been there in the first place. So please, all those things as Alex have put out there, all these things are in place.
The question is being asked as to whether you were actually qualified for this contract in the first place. Your MD tells the investigators that you were a timber company that has now changed into this, but there's no proving track record. How did you get selected through sole sourcing?
Samson, when it comes to matters of procurement, please, I'm begging you. I'm a technical person. I'm going to deal with issues on under declaration and everything, the business case of SML, to defy those duplicitous issues. Please don't push me into this.
No, I'm not going, Richard, I'm not going into the technical aspect. I just want us to stay around maybe section 40 of the Procurement Act about single source procurement. There are grounds to give a contract in this situation. The law says where goods, works, or services are only available from a particular supplier or contractor, or if a particular supplier or contractor has exclusive rights in respect of the goods, works, or services, and no reasonable alternative or substitute exists. We are aware from Ben Boachi and the rest of them. They say they don't know you in the industry.
Something, I'll plead with you. If you ask procurement question and you do subsequent ones, followed up, I'm not having that capacity. I'm pleading with you. Don't let us go into procurement now here.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying why I brought you in on Alex Mould's submission. Okay, so Alex, continue with your submission. What do you think ought to be done from what you're seeing? What do you see and what do you think ought to be done?
So I think the MPA has a plan. And when I talk about MPA, I'm not talking about whether it's NDC or MPP. It's MPA. MPA has a plan and we're trying to execute it. And I believe one of the things that we're trying to do is volume integrity, okay, for both the consumer and also for government. So one thing you have to do is you have to do a material balance. All the products that enters the country enters through the CBM or the jetty, either in Tema or Takrady, and it's placed in the tanks. So there are various ways you monitor to make sure that the volumes are right. Every month there is tank verification, that the volumes in the tanks are verified, and everybody's involved. GRA through customs is involved, the tank depot owners are involved, the product owners are involved, the independent inspectors are involved, NPA is involved, everybody's involved in ensuring that we know what the volumes are. At the end of the day, you do a material balance of how much product you brought into the country, how much you have discharged through the meters at your gantry, and how much is done. By the way, this is done by the product depots on a daily basis, but on a monthly basis, everybody gets involved and does it. And every half year, we do a huge reconciliation.
Yes.
So reconciliations have been done, and it's been done in the industry all the time.
I'm sorry we have run out of time. What's your sense of this contract and what should be done?
Well, what should be done is, one, NPA should be in charge of this. NPA put an EDRMS system in place which verifies all the volumes. These volumes are reconciled with GRA on a daily basis and on a monthly basis. So there is no volume lost, and it should be integrated in the GRA system, which I believe is the ICUM system, which is already done. So MPA instituted this in 2017 and integrated it into GRA in 2018. Since then, the reconciliations have been okay. There has not been any shortfall. So I don't know what the added value SML is bringing to the table. And I do not know how they reconcile their remuneration. The remuneration should be based on your fixed cost versus your variable cost. And if there is any added value you bring to it, you should only be paid for the value added, not for the full volume that we already. And this brings to my issue of smuggling. Smuggling has been done and is being done mainly at the fishing harbor and at the harbors where the large volumes come in with the collusion of the harbor masters and security forces. And also, it has to be said that somebody high up in Jubilee House must be involved because these operators cannot allow that to be done. My understanding that this smuggling has gone down since 2017 to 2018, and the volumes are far lower. We should ensure that we stop doing that. If GRA believes that its custom officers at the depots are colluding with the tank operators and with the oil marketing companies, then they should ensure that they have good personnel at these depots, because I don't think the flow meters or anything is going to solve the problem if we don't have good personnel.
Thank you very much.
Reconciliation is the way to go.
Thank you very much. Alex Mould is former CEO of the GMPC. He's a finance and energy advisor. Manasseh Azure-Awunem is a journalism fellow, Harvard University. And Richard Mafo is technical assistant to the managing director of the SML, that is Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited. OSP has commenced work. Parliament has also commenced some work in this contract. So we can wait to see what happens. I'm Samson Lardy Anyenini. Thank you for your company throughout the year. And thanks for the many messages I've seen congratulating us for what we have been committed to. We have been committed to for you in the course of the year. We can only assure you that, God willing, next year we will bring you even more of these productions. My outfit, as always, is by Habil's Couture. You can find them at Adringano Gates. And also, as I told you earlier, these are from WASSCE, and you can call them 0555 that's 0555 940 022 to place your orders. They will do it according to your pockets and deliver to your friends and loved ones, luxury hampers, affordable gift items. Thank you all very much. They are at East Legon, Shashi, adjacent Gethsemane Memorial Gardens, next to Total Wine. Have a good afternoon.